What's that? That is. It's been very helpful. Yeah, you might want to sit over here.
Yes, yeah, I mean.
She was gone.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's hard for every year.
I didn't want anybody. I always feel like that. I don't think I can make it.
Oh, oh, okay, yeah, I know, yeah. So. I went. So I know I. Experience. Oh, Paul? Yeah. Paul, yeah. Where was that? Oh, I can. Oh, okay. No, what kind of, I've learned that there's no fun.
She will.
And if not. They're out there. All right, that makes me happy. How much is it? Yeah, I will. Okay. It's gotta be gone.
All set up over here.
So, yeah, I never smart company. Oh.
I don't mind.
This was, no, it's outside. Yeah. How are you?
How's that? Played really well.
Yeah, I remember you. Yeah.
The keeper's the old base.
Yeah.
No, still have. That's what I want to say. The penalty shot.
Yes, how
Yeah, what's called that man? Yeah. I understand. Yeah. Okay. How are you? Right in front, right? I think it's like Sean said. Don't pay attention.
Why I was asking, what do they believe? And I told you.
Well.
Okay.
I had a lot of them. So yes.
Well.
I can make it in there. Sounds.
I know, I felt like I was like reserving the whole room like maybe with a big family's church, right? No, well, maybe that too, but no, not church. How are you? Well, and remember, I've got a time limit. Yeah, if you ask if you need it, they can. But that meeting to be nice. They're not as. That made me see it. That would be violent in the city, but. Right. Yeah. Well, yes, I think you've got sort of a hot little. Night, right? Yeah.
It said.
I like it. Yeah, I live in College Hill. Oh. Yeah, one fair amount, but I've also done 86.
Yeah.
My first time I had 5.
Look at that. I don't have anything hanging on my shirt.
No, I, College Hill, they. Also, talking about it. And you're. So WIN is a volunteer organization. Advocates on this. Yeah, Jim and Michelle, they're very quiet together. So, and I go to church with here. So after. She was like, well, you did it. So that.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Appreciate it very much. JB Johnson, council member for District 5. Nice, we have a good crowd tonight. Hope to see all of you next month also. Just kidding. So I like to have someone else run my meetings, one of our members kind of rotate. Tonight it's Dennis Clary, who's going to run the meeting. And I'll just turn it over to Dennis.
Okay, thanks, JB. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to District 5 DAB this evening. We have a lot to cover, so we're going to get this party started. First item of business is the approval of our agenda for June 3rd. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign. Approval of the agenda passes. Okay, moving on to approval of the minutes from the May DAB meeting, May 8th. You also received a copy of the last meeting's minutes. Is there any comments or questions, or otherwise we'll be seeking a motion to approve? To approve. Is there a second? Okay, motion been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And Grace, Lamont, Wendy, I've got you on Zoom. Just pipe in if you have anything different. Minutes are passed. Takes us to our public agenda this evening. Item number 1 under scheduled items, we have Rachel Bell from the Kansas Turnpike Authority, will speak about cashless tolling. Rachel, over to you.
Thank you.
No.
Information card.
Information card.
Those are just as good, right?
Okay, no, they're not.
Appreciate your honesty.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good evening, although it seems strange to say good evening when the sun is so nice and bright out there. So good afternoon. My name is Rachel Bell, and I am from the Kansas Turnpike Authority, and we consider ourselves a community partner of the city of Wichita. So we appreciate you all giving up just a few minutes of your time to learn about our conversion to cashless tolling here later this summer. So cashless tolling essentially just means that there will be no on-road payment any longer. We will be eventually removing the toll booths from their locations. And let's see. This is instilling a lot of confidence in my technology. There we go. Thank you. Okay, so we announced the decision to go cashless back in 2020, and we have been working toward that goal ever since. But people still ask us why we decided to make this conversion. We essentially are doing it for 3 main reasons. The largest, of course, being safety. Anytime you have customers stopped in the middle of a ramp or the middle of the road, that creates a safety concern. So we want to go ahead and remove that barrier and keep traffic moving like normal. We also have customers who drive to places like Dallas and Denver, And they come back and they say, well, why can't we, do something like that here? And so we are excited to be able to do that here, coming in July. The other part of the rationale for this is that we did have some operational considerations. When we started looking at cashless tolling a decade ago, we learned that 69% of our staff would be of retirement age here within this 1 to 2 year window. So this timing allowed us to make the least impact on our staff. And we wanted to do that because many of our employees have been with us for a long time. We also have aging equipment, and we had to make a decision. Are we going to replace the cash collection equipment, which is, a little antiquated at this point, or do we replace it with cashless? And so we chose to upgrade the system and replace it with cashless. And we're also looking forward to implementing some efficiencies that our current system was a little restricted by. So as I said, it's coming in July. What this actually means for customers is that in the early morning hours of July 1st, we will convert the roadway to cashless tolling. We'll shut down the toll booths. We'll no longer be collecting tolls on the roadway. Our back office system will take a little bit longer. So from the customer side, we won't be available to answer questions or help you with your account between July 1st and July 7th, but we will be back on July 8th up and running. And that just gives us a window to convert all of those accounts over and do some final details. We are launching a new toll payment system with this, and it is called Drive KS. And this will allow our customers to manage their KTAG accounts at driveks.com or use a license plate. If you don't want a transponder, you can just be billed by your license plate, and you can make a toll payment on driveks.com. You can wait for a bill in the mail. And you can also use a mobile app or call into our Kansas-based customer service centers. So as I said, we do have Kansas-based customer service centers. We have 3, one located right here in Wichita, one in Topeka, and one in Lawrence. You can reach us by phone, by email, online. We do also have a mobile app, and we'll be updating that mobile app as we convert to cashless in July. If you have questions or comments, we're also available on several different social media channels. So we like to think that we are accessible to our customers, and many of them do, trust me, know how to get a hold of us. So that is all I had for you today. We will be converting driveks.com into a payment system after cashless goes live. But right now it has all the information that you might need. I encourage everybody to go and take a look, and there's videos, there's FAQs, there's a lot of different information. I also have put some informational cards out on the table. If you have additional questions, I encourage you to pick those up. So that was all I had this evening, but I appreciate your time.
Any questions for Rachel this evening?
I have a question. Do we still get a discount if we have the KTAG?
Yes, that's a good question, because I failed to mention that. Today you receive a 35%, but after we go live with cashless, it will be a 50% discount.
So there's incentive to get a transponder
Yes,
over the light.
there is. And unlike a lot of states, we don't require prepayment and we don't charge for our transponders. So that's something that sets Kansas apart. We really tried to listen to our customers.
Where can you pick those up at?
Our office is in East Wichita at Rock and Webb, but the easiest, fastest way is mykTAG.com.
Yes, sir.
So if I have pipe patch right now from Oklahoma, is there a reason, and also the one in Colorado around the airport area? Those are interconnected, I understand,
Yes.
billing. Is there a reason I would need to change to KTA?
No, it's a personal preference. Each account is a little bit different. Like I said, we don't require you to prepay. A lot of those other toll payments do. So if that was your preference, you could switch over, but otherwise there's no need.
Are there any plans to join with other states other than Texas, Oklahoma, and Colorado?
Yes. Yeah, we currently you can use it in Florida. We have talks going on nationwide. California has some privacy laws that are pretty restricting right now, and we're trying to work through that. And then, of course, we know, the Easy Pass group on the East Coast would be really nice.
Did you have a question?
Well, you answered
Okay.
it,
Yeah.
or asked it, yeah.
So Rachel, for the standard citizen, is there, other than maybe the recommendation of getting a transponder to save yourself some money, is there any action required? It's purely informational. This is coming, get ready, beware.
Yes,
Okay.
that is true. We just want everybody to know that it's coming and to get a K tag if they don't have one already.
How many bill collectors do you have on staff?
We have 0 bill collectors, but we have about 60 customer service representatives.
Very well played. Well, Rachel, thank you for your time. Thank you for your partnership. Appreciate you being here. Okay, we'll move to item number 2 under public agenda. We do have an individual scheduled for our off agenda items this evening. Trish Heilman, I believe, Vice President of the Wichita Independent Neighborhoods. Speak to her organization. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Trish Heilman, as was said, and I'm the Vice President of WIN. Some of you all over on this side of town may not be familiar with WIN. It is Wichita Independent Neighborhoods. And we do have as members HOAs, so that's, something that's more prevalent on this side of town. The mission of Wichita Independent Neighborhoods is to provide education, resources, and an effective voice to and for current and potential members of WIN on quality of life issues in Wichita and Sedgwick County. So if you live in a neighborhood, in an HOA, or could, and are a member, or live in a neighborhood, an HOA, and someday may want to be a member, you can work with WIN. We envision citizens, families, and neighborhoods in Wichita and Sedgwick County that participate fully in their governance to attain a safe, healthy, and vibrant community, which is basically neighborhoods are the first level of government in Wichita. And a lot of people don't realize that, but it's true. And sometimes it's scary and complicated, and there's a lot to know that you just aren't born with. And WIN wants to help come alongside neighbors and people in DABs and city council people to connect with residents in Wichita. So we are working with the notification process to try and change things to be more neighbor and neighborhood friendly. We're working with the city to establish a templated neighborhood plan that's happening in my neighborhood in College Hill. We're working to develop guidelines on opening short-term rentals, helping how does a neighbor who owns a short-term rental make it so their listing actually does what they want it to do and not become a party house where they get bad issues going on. So assisting neighborhoods when confronted with development plans that are of concern to residents in those neighborhoods, sort of like what's happening today. Conditional use compliance monitoring, and then we do quarterly membership meetings for topics on education. Right now we're doing, this quarter is youth violence and education, how to get a great education in Wichita. And yeah, so if you are interested in helping with WIN, we'd love some District 5 representation on our board. There is a phone number and an email, and I brought some printed. I think your DAB members may have it in their packet, yes. But if you're interested, I have some printed off. I didn't want to kill any trees. Well, I killed a branch, but I just brought a limited number of copies, but that's also available on our website. So if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. Did you guys have any questions for me? Thank you for serving on District 5 DAB.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, at this time, if there are any other individuals present that did not request to speak on the public agenda prior to the meeting, you may speak at this time. If you are here for the conditional use, please know that you'll have your opportunity later in our agenda. If there are anybody else that's here to speak about any other topic, now would be the time. Okay, seeing none. Okay, so that will draw our public agenda to a conclusion. There's an action to receive and file these 2 items. Is there a motion to receive and file? Second. Okay, perfect. Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign. All right, thank you to our teammates on the Zoom. Okay. It now moves us to our board agenda. First item is our updates, issues, and reports. This is an opportunity for our council member to just give us a status on what's happening with the city, as well as any DAB members to update us on things in your neighborhoods. Councilman.
Thank you. If you're like me, you've noticed a lot of orange cones on the road, on the west side. I know Ridge Road, 13 Maze Road, you're doing a patch, you're patching it. Don't despair though, in a month or two, the end of July, June and July, they're going up to the surface on top of that. It'll be a beautiful, smooth road. So it's coming. So I think they let to settle in the patches and stuff. So it's smoother when they get it done. We have a budget workshop tomorrow, City Council. Evening meeting tomorrow, City Council, if you'd like to come. It's also at 6 o'clock at City Hall. Have a budget workshop before that. And one of the areas we'll focus on is roads. And a lot of that will be local streets too. So the arterial roads are in pretty good shape. Some complaints about local streets, and I can understand that. Last thing is agenda tomorrow. There's a CID. George Laham, Chicken and Pickle, wants to take a couple of properties out of the CID. Which is fine. If you're not familiar with CID, it's a district created to give money back to the developer. It's a tax. So it's a 1.5% tax. If you go to Chicken Pickle, you'll see a 1.5% additional tax that actually goes back to the developer to pay for that development or building. So I'm not a big fan of those unless it's a blighted area. But anyway, the other parcels in that, around that, he wants to take out of there, which I understand. If I buy a building, I don't want to help pay for Chicken and Pickle. So I kind of get that. So those are some of the things coming on. As always, most of you have my cell number. If you want to call me, that's fine. Text me or email me, jvjohnston@wichita.gov, or my cell number is 640-6442. So that's it.
Jimmy, any questions for JV? Okay, anybody on the DAB want to share any updates, concerns, or events from your respective neighborhoods?
I noticed Sunset Park, back in the neighborhood where I live at, the city came by and took out a lot of dying pine trees that were looking really, really nasty. So it was pleasant to drive. I just drove by one day. I was like, oh my gosh, they're gone. So they did that throughout the park. So I was thankful that they took care of those.
Anybody else? Wendy, Grace, Lamont, anything online you want to share? Okay, moving on. That takes us to item number 4. We'll have a report from our Cultural Funding Committee, District 5 appointee Martha Linsner and Lindsay Banaka, Director of Arts and Cultural Services.
Hi, everyone. I'm gonna grab a quick presentation here. I'm Lindsay, this is Martha.
Do you want me to just introduce myself and then I'll
Sure.
sit down and you can give a wonderful presentation? So I started serving on the Cultural Funding Committee as Brian Fry's appointee. I work for the Trust Company of Kansas, and for years and years, we've had a commitment to supporting the arts in our community. So when I was serving as the president of the Wichita Arts Council Board of Directors, I sat in on all of the Cultural Funding Committee meetings, but I really couldn't vote. And then time went by and an opening came up. So I jumped on that. It's a really interesting process, a way to let the citizens or represent the citizens. I'm appointee now of Councilman Johnston. And we are your voice when we are deciding where to spend dollars that the city sets aside for the arts throughout our community. So Lindsay Banaka.
And can I pitch that she is a longtime resident of District 5? She's
Yes.
also president and CEO.
President, I let somebody else
President,
be the
CEO,
CEO.
okay, president of the Trust Company of Kansas.
Yes, thank you.
So
Let's see. So the city's had a cultural funding program for well over a decade, probably closer to 20 years. And it's one of my favorite things that we do in the Division of Arts and Cultural Services. We'll get there a little bit. I do have copies of the presentation out on the table outside if you're interested in more information. But ultimately, the grant that I want to talk to you all about tonight is our operational grant, which is funding and support that goes to local arts and culture nonprofits in the community. Wonderful. And all of the grants that we give out have to align with our mission, essentially, of what the city is interested in supporting. We are less than 30 days with this mission and vision statement, so I'm super excited that we have a unified approach to it. Our mission is to ensure that everyone has equitable access to cultural arts opportunities by activating and strengthening the creative potential of our community. So the city owns and operates a handful of arts facilities like City Arts, where I office out of in Old Town Square, but we also support a lot of different partner organizations through our grants program. So we'll talk about the operating grants. We'll also talk a little bit about the artist access grants. Those are really our two funding models. We historically had a third one called developing arts grants, but we are sunsetting that for the foreseeable future. Some great stats. I'm not going to read them all to you, but just so you can see the breadth of the impact that we have with this funding program. In 2023, we had 28 operating grants that were distributed throughout the community, including, and then an additional 8 of our cultural institutions were funded out of the same giant kind of pot of money. Throughout all those organizations, we had over 1.5 million attendees to arts and cultural events and programs throughout the community. And I always like to highlight the free events. Over 4,000 free events were provided to the community as part of this granting process. Our cultural funding committee, which is where Martha really does all the work. We staff, we administer it, we get all the paperwork in, but we say, hey, Martha and co, make all the hard decisions for the city and make great recommendations to our city council members. We have a committee of 11 members, 7 are appointed by city council and the mayor, and then 4 are appointed by the Wichita Arts Council, including the chairperson. Committee members are completely volunteer, and they probably spend close to 25 hours on average. I think it's more than that, but that's the safe number that Martha, our financial expert, gave me. So I'm going to go with that. But they spend countless hours really behind the scenes, detail reading through applications and grant forms. So they're wonderful community members who completely volunteer their time to do this work. For the operating grant itself, these are 501c3 organizations that can apply. So we have a lot of great performing arts organizations in this community that are actually for-profit or ineligible. So when we look at like the breadth of organizations that we support, it's really just the nonprofit sector. Our for-profit friends are doing incredible work, but our organization list that we can serve is right around 80 organizations right now that are eligible to apply. The primary purpose of the organization is to produce or present arts and cultural programs, and they must serve the residents of the city of Wichita. So we don't get in trouble with our neighbors throughout Sedgwick County, but we really want to focus City of Wichita dollars to City of Wichita residents and visitors to the community. We know many organizations kind of go across different county lines, but that's the priority. They have to have a minimum of 5 years of operational history. We are looking at changing that for 2025 funding to lower it to 2 years of operational history. We had a ton of organizations pop up in the last handful of years since the pandemic. And we have historically a developing arts organization grant that served kind of as an incubator program, but really was a unicorn grant program that we really weren't seeing those applicants through. So we're looking at lowering the operational grant history to 2 years. They must have a full-time professional management of staff of some sort that can be a volunteer. We see a lot of volunteers throughout our organizations that we work with, and they must present a full season of exhibits or performances or something equivalent. So this isn't your one-off festival or program. These are really organizations that work throughout the year. They must be ADA compliant. And then we break them up into size of organizations and what they're eligible to request. These are the organizations who received funding for this year. Just around $450,000 that went out. I want to say this is 28 recipients of the 80 we know exist in the community that we could be serving. I like to highlight our cultural institutions because these are the organizations we also support but are not eligible for our grant program because they're written into our line item budget essentially. So this is a list of competitive grantees. This is the list of organizations who are on a direct contract with to support. So like the city's impact in this area is really phenomenal. For our Artist Access Grant, this is a professional developing grant for local working artists in the community. We don't fund the creation of art, so it's not to give an artist painting supplies. It's to help them get to a continuing ed program, to go to a conference, to go to an artist residency program, and then bring all that knowledge back to Wichita, or to be an ambassador for Wichita somewhere else in the state or in the country. I think we're sending a couple people to Peru this year for a convention. So they'll be our delegates when they go to those programs. These are small grants awarded from $100 to $1,000. And applicants can receive the grant 2 consecutive years, and then they have to wait a year. So it really funds artist workshops, residencies, professional development of any kind. It could be for legal aid if an artist is looking for copyright support, or general contract support, website creation. It just really doesn't fund the creation of art itself. So you can't use it to buy equipment. If you're a photographer, you can't buy a camera with it, but you could take a photography class with it. These are our 24 artist access grant recipients. Of note, historically, we usually had about 3 or 4 recipients. We had over 20 recipients this year, which feels pretty dang good. So the 2025 grant cycle, this is breaking news. We haven't released it yet, but we'll open applications this Friday after our cultural funding committee meeting on Thursday, once Martha gives us the green light to open applications. So this Friday, applications will open. It's about a 60-day window that we have open. We have different Q&A sessions where any organization can come in and ask us questions. Am I eligible? Can you review my grant? What do I need to do to succeed in the process? And then it'll go into the review process, and applications actually get Q&A with the committee itself, which I think makes us a very unique grant program that I'm really proud of. That sometimes if you apply for a grant or you apply for a job and you never hear back, we have a face-to-face conversation with the applicant and the committee themselves to clear up any questions that might be lingering. So we really do diligence on getting the money as far and as deep into the community as we can. Artist access grants will open in Q4 of this year for 2025 funding. And then we're also really excited that we have a new grant program that's under development right now through the National Endowment of the Arts. We received a sub-granting award from them. So we'll be working with our committee on distributing a new pot of money for project creation. So we have operational support, individual professional development support for artists, and so this new pot of money, which will be for special projects. So right now we don't fund projects at all. So if you have an idea for a festival or a mural, or want to do this thing in the community, we have no way to entertain that request right now. We're really excited to have this new pot of money from the National Endowment of the Arts to sub-grant out into the community. It will be for 2025. We think applications will open up this fall for it. This is how you can find out more information about what we do, wichita.gov/arts. We do record all of our meetings. It's a public meeting. You're welcome to attend. They're very lively. Sometimes there's snacks, but you can also check out the recordings online. I always point out the recordings because if you've never applied for a grant or if you have no idea how that works, seeing how we've done it in past years can make it seem a lot less scary that there's real people, they're residents just like you who are sitting in the room reading through everything, getting the funding out to the community. It's not happening behind closed doors. It's really a transparent process. They are sometimes long meetings. Our Q&As can be a full day, sometimes 2 days long, but all the information is there and accessible in the city's YouTube channel or on our website. This is where you can find out more information. You can contact me, but I'm likely going to default to Jesse Kozer, our cultural arts administrator, who lives this grant program all day, every day, who would really be able to answer questions that you might have for your organizations. And then I'll pass it back to Martha. Anything you'd like to add?
Great job.
Happy to answer questions if there are any.
Questions from the board or our guests this evening for the Cultural Funding Committee reports?
Thank you for the opportunity to let us give you an update.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your leadership, Martha. It's exciting times. Thank you, Lindsay. Okay, no formal action to end the board agenda, so that will take us to our staff reports. First up this evening, Officer Williams from the Wichita Police Department.
And I am Officer Wade with Wichita Police Department. You know, you never think that class that you take in college for public speaking is gonna work out. It brings you to this. I'll try to get through this as fast as possible. We had a search warrant done this weekend. We have one individual in custody. Since it's an ongoing investigation, I can't really say a whole lot about it. there's several incidents that are going on with that residence in that area. Also, we just got done doing the camp awareness over at Watson Park, where we went out there with 300 kids and actually mentored them, talked with them. Did a lot of stuff, got to do some archery, slingshot, canoeing, rafting, just fishing, all types of stuff just to get kids outside and get them playing. One of the other things we have going on, we did have scheduled our Second Chance Thursday program for July 11th. However, with the computer system being down right now, we have to possibly reschedule it, but we're going to talk about it. So we'll have to let everybody know when we can actually do that. Last thing, if anybody sees people panhandling in the center median, definitely give us a call. We'll go out there and get them off of the median. That's when they're standing like right in the middle, in between traffic. It was even this weekend, and I don't know if anybody saw her, but it was at 13th and Tyler. Somebody was just standing like right there, out in front of the Quick Trip, right in the middle, asking for money. So if you see stuff like that, let us know. Technically, they're not supposed to be out in traffic. They're not supposed to step into traffic. But that is also citable. So there are other ways to be able to get them money if you want to. For example, donating to the hot team or donating to any of the programs that actually give them the money and the resources to be able to get them on their feet. So other than that, any questions?
Is there a non-emergency number to call for that?
Whenever you're calling us, everything is emergency. So at some point in time, it'll go out over the air. Yes, ma'am.
So when there's young children seeking money for their ball teams and there's no adult around.
Yeah, I've seen that at 21st and Mays a lot. I know everybody's gonna say about that one. Yeah, they can be out in the median. That median is dangerous. I mean, it's still in traffic. But they're also not supposed to be walking into traffic. And if we call an officer up there, they will advise them to stay, up on the sidewalks.
Any other questions or?
Yes.
How many officers are committed to District 5 every evening?
As far as like the number of officers?
Number of officers that cover the area
On any given beat, like at any given time?
in the evening.
So this area, District 5, District 3, and District 6, for the whole bureau, I have about 100 officers. So they're between what, 4, 5, and 6. They're kind of spaced around. So I don't have a specific number just for District 5.
So there's basically 100 officers covering those 3 areas in the evening.
No, that's how many I have.
On patrol.
That's how many I have total, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So tonight, between 2 shifts, there may be about 15 to 20 officers out there at any given time. Absolutely.
That's pretty much all of West Wichita.
Yes, all of West Wichita.
Any other questions or comments?
I might add something. I'm on the homeless task force, spend a lot of time on homelessness. There's 2 different populations. There's homelessness and there's panhandlers. People who see with signs that smile, you never see their teeth. The reason you never see their teeth because they're on meth. And that money you give them is for meth. And 9 times out of 10, they have a car, they're living somewhere. They just need $20 for a hit of meth. So please do not give them any money. If you want to give money, give it to the hot team, give it to Laura's Diner, give it to United Way, give it to anybody else, but do not give them money. Unless you consciously want to help supply the meth happen. If you want to do that, give them money.
I will tell you, it's been the past few times when I pass by, when I'm off duty, even at Kellogg and West, I'll go over there and I'll look to see like what all they have with them. Because if you start looking at all their property, sometimes, you'll start seeing the alcohol that's over there. And I've also talked to some of the homeless individuals over there who actually have houses and they're just basically getting money to pay rent. So it's not about being homeless. It's just about, what, if they're gonna give me money, I'll sit out there. So if we do it the right way, then they can get through with the resources to be able to find it.
Our city housing department does a great job of finding people houses. Finding them housing, so they do a fabulous job. We did an important time count for the homeless this February. We did come across a gentleman that was panhandling to pay rent. And I was with two of the housing people from Wichita. They said, hey, we got your name. They were living in a motel for $200 a week. That was their social security check. And they're trying to get money for food. They said, listen, we'll get you into a house, probably $300 a month. And you'll have money for food and things like that. So there are programs if we just make them aware of it. So.
Yeah, I've talked to people before, they've had disability, they've had, all this money coming in, and I'm like, well, why are you staying out here? And they're like, I don't wanna pay for taxes, I don't wanna pay for someplace to live, I can just have my money. So that may not be everybody's story, but it's some of their stories. So, like I said, if you wanna donate, there's other ways to do it instead of just straight cash. If you do have anybody that's on your property, and you're trying to get them off, you could just call 911, we'll come out there, whether it be a home or a business. If it's at a business, it'll probably be me, and we'll come out and get them out. If they're on public property, it'll be definitely me, and we'll sticker the property to get cleaned up, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? There you
Is panhandling legal?
go. Ooh.
I don't think it's-
They're looking at the ordinance now to see what they want to do about that. If they step out into the roadway, we'll cite them a citation. If they get into the median, we can cite them there also. But as far as anything else, we're kind of leaving that alone right now because they're still working on it.
So about 10, 15 years ago, the US Supreme Court said that it was their First
Captain,
Amendment
could you
right.
come up here?
I'm sorry. The US, I'm Captain Ron Hunt, the captain over Patrol West Bureau. So about 10, 15 years ago, the US Supreme Court actually came out and said that it is their First Amendment right to actually stand out there with signs. So it really limited our ability and the things that we're able to do to address some of that and to prevent it. So, we have to make sure that we're not violating someone's First Amendment right with their freedom of speech, holding up those signs. And because of that, yes, it's caused us some additional challenges. But just as Officer Williams pointed out, we are working to, if they're standing in the median, okay, well, the median is not, that's in the middle of a roadway. So we can work to address that aspect of it. But some of the other stuff we can't.
Yeah, I think it was last summer, we had one drawn up and I think it was against the person who actually donated the money to the individual. And that's the one that we're not citing because, it's, you don't want to cite somebody for trying to help.
And because of that, there have been municipalities that have actually been sued by homeless individuals who have sued the law enforcement agencies because we did violate the First Amendment right.
Yep.
So, it's,
We avoid it.
we have to be very cautious.
Anything else for the PD? All right, Captain Hunt, thank you, Officer Williams, thank
Thank
you.
you.
That clap paid off, man. All right, that takes us to our fire department report this evening. Battalion Chief Jones, over to you, sir.
He didn't realize that, since I was on the agenda, that everybody came out. 50 people, nobody. Cops. Okay, so I just have a few quick things. I emailed this and you guys probably get a copy of it if you request it. It's just a kind of an update. A lot of different things in here about some of the fires throughout the city. Some of the, duck rescues and dog rescues that we've done. And stuff that we help with the Parks Department. A little bit of information about the fire department. We had an assessment center for our new company officers. That's one of the tasks that they go through in order to make lieutenant or captain or battalion chief. Those happen every 2 years. It's folks do quite a bit of work to do that. As far as major incidents and fires, the investigation units responded to 22 fire scenes from March 20th through April 20th. And that was citywide. And the estimated loss was 1.3 million. So quite a bit of damage, not in District 5. It was pretty quiet. I saw we've had two fires, 220 South Maze. There's some duplexes over there. There's fire in the storage room of the duplex. That cause is undetermined. And then 11,800 block of West Neville, there was a house fire in the attached garage. And then we did have a fire that's not in the report yet off 135th. There was a just north of Maple, just north of Central. There was a fire in a farm right there, well off the road. The only other thing that I have for you guys, and I'll stand for questions, is fireworks season's upon us. Just got some information from Chief O'Cady, who's our fire prevention chief. June 27th through July 5th, and I'll forward this to you. June 27th through July 5th, times for each day is 10 a.m. to midnight. Aerial fireworks, which are more than 6 feet, are allowed, and they can only be shot from July 3rd through July 5th at the same time frame. And aerial fireworks are going to be allowed to be sold in the city of Wichita this year. So that's new for this year. WFD and WPD are determining how the logistics of enforcing the ordinance. And 911 will have a non-emergency line available for that time period. I believe the whole time period. I'm not 100% sure on that. That will be advertised, I'm sure, on Channel 7 as well as the news. Yeah. So does anyone have questions for me that I can help with? Oh, I would add that there is an ordinance about stepping into the traffic, because that's why we don't panhandle for MDA out in the streets anymore. You see us now at Dillon's or Walmart or something. That's why the fire department's not out there, because it's against. So we follow rules.
Aerial displays from July 3rd to the 5th.
Mhm.
Is there a time frame like?
I believe it's the same as 10 a.m. to midnight, I think. It is. I will double check and get you. It is. Is it? Okay, you were at the presentation.
It is.
Yeah. Yes.
Just rough sketch of employment, or is fire department at full employment? What is the situation?
Yeah, we are at just a little under 500 firefighters on the streets. That includes our training division and fire prevention division, investigation division, but a little bit under 500. But we are fully staffed. We're in a good position really right now. I told Dan before, I was there before I came here. We are on schedule for Firehouse 23, which will be at Pawnee and Mays. Deputy Chief Pavelski told me today that they're hoping, with the bureaucracies that we exist in, that they'll break ground on that early 2025, maybe late 2024, depending on architects and all that. So that'll be good. Not so much for your district, but it does help your district, because right now that sucks units away from, the other. So the west side is, we're much better than what we were a year ago, 2 years ago, as far as fire apparatus. We have more now, and so we're doing much better, but it will help our response to the southwest part of the city. The southwest part of the city is very underserved right now. So there are a lot of, I grew up in Clearwater, and there's Wichita clear out to Schulte. So I don't know if anybody knows where Schulte is, but there's Wichita to Schulte, which I didn't think as a kid I would see that, but it is there, and they do need, because their closest firehouse to any of those places in Southwest is either Firehouse 12, which is at Meridian and 235, or 17, which is at Maple and Mays. So it is quite a run, which is important for citizens. Other questions? Really? I mean, sometimes I get beat up.
I have one.
Yes.
How often do you guys go into neighborhoods and look and see if people are parking in front of fire hydrants? We have one on our street.
Hardly ever. If you do have a habitual, I don't know if that's the right word, but an offender, tell me which is
They are constantly.
But someone that does it frequently, you could call the fire department. I mean, we call 911, but you can call the fire department offices, and we could swing somebody by there. But if we're out and about and we see that, we will, obviously address it. But I suppose most firefighters really want to do like they did on Backdraft where they smash the window and run the hose through the. It's always been, I've been on 34 years as of June 9th, so never got to do it yet. Yeah, in this position, I probably couldn't do it. So anyways, okay, well, you guys have a good meeting. Anything else?
Thank you, Chief
Thank
Jim.
you, guys.
All right, normally at this time, we would invite Tracy Partridge on behalf of the Wesleyan Branch Library to give us a report. Tracy unfortunately could not be with us this evening. The board did receive her brief update for the purposes of those in attendance this evening. Though I cannot give her report the justice that Tracy would do, she would want you to know the following at a minimum. Wichita Public Library is partnering with the Wichita Symphony Orchestra for a series of story times and small concerts this summer. You can find all the dates on the Wichita Library website. They want you to know that all the public libraries will be closed on June 19th in observance of Juneteenth. And finally, they are also hosting what they were calling the 2024 Sundance Shorts Tour this year at the Advanced Learning Library downtown. So if you are a fan of the Sundance Film Festival, that would be something you want to look into. Okay, with that, we will take it to Mr. Ferris with the Park and Recreation Department.
Good evening, Gary Ferris, Park and Recreation. Spring has sprung, summer's on the way, it's gonna get hot. So we have pools and splash pads for you and all the kids in town to cool off at. I recommend that you swing by and take advantage of that. We do have, working with the Red Cross, there's scholarships that are offered to take to participate in swim lessons for free. So that information can be accessed by going to wichita.gov/aquatics. Another reason to go onto wichita.gov/aquatics is to learn about all the different, besides swimming lessons, there's aqua aerobics, junior lifeguard classes, there's and then there's swimming pool memberships that are $70 that cover all of the different pools. And that is for all season. So that's 6 pools, $70 all season. It's a good deal. We have launched a new app. Everybody's got an app. Well, Park and Recreation has an app, and it will. The user experience on it is quite stellar. I've used it, and I'm not really an app guy, so I can personally recommend this. You can set it for various push notifications. To be notified, and if you sign up for a class or some type of activity with Park and Recreation and there's an adjustment in time, a closure, etc., you can learn that automatically through the app, and you don't have to show up and be disappointed. So lots of information through the app, and then we have several different projects going on in specific to District 5, one of which that has been a long coming project at Country Acres, the dog park. That is under final review in MABCD for the parking. And as soon as that is complete, which should happen within probably a week, the whole project will go out to bid and that'll get underway. The Proc Wetlands Boardwalk is also under final review, and that's about to go out for bid. So those projects are progressing rapidly in government terms. Wanted to put that caveat there. So with that, I will stand for any questions about Park and Recreation.
Where are the pools and splash pads in District 5 located at?
You're asking me a map question.
It's on the app.
It's on the app. I don't know who said that. Hey. Well, if I have a Snickers. Don't. But thank you.
Buffalo Park.
But Buffalo Park is definitely a splash pad.
Sunset, that's cool.
Harvest, that's right, yes, thank you.
Harvest is cool.
When you say the names, I know where they're at, but with all the district lines, I don't have those memorized. But yes, splash pad at Buffalo, Pool at Harvest. Yes.
Where is that proposed dog park?
Country Acres, it used to be Country Acres Park. It's gonna be Central and Ridge, the northwest of that intersection.
About a block northwest of both.
Yeah. Used to be a pool there.
Yeah,
They took
years
the pool
ago,
out.
there used to be tennis courts there.
Tennis
And
courts.
those,
Bowling alley?
back to bowling alley.
Back,
Yeah, behind it. Yeah.
Any other questions for Park and Rec this evening? All right, thank you, Gary.
I'll take credit for your
Trees.
tree
That's right.
comment. I appreciate that. Appreciate you
Oh,
noticing.
man, that was great.
Those have been on the list for a while, so
Yeah, it looks great. Thank you.
thank you all.
Gary, you're welcome to stay for this next part of the agenda.
I got a notification.
Yeah.
Gotta get to my next appointment.
Splash pad. That'll be right. Okay, there is an action to receive and file all of our staff reports. Is there a motion on the floor? Second. All right, motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, staff reports are received and filed. All right, that takes us to our new business of the evening. What I think we all know to be our marquee item of the night. We do have a conditional use request from the planning department. Just to give folks an idea procedurally of how this will go, we will hear the presentation from planning. We'll then immediately bring it back to the board for any technical questions for Brad. When the board has exhausted their questions for the meantime, we will take it out to public comment. If you are here to speak on this item, you will be heard tonight. You will have up to 3 minutes. I'll give you more instructions and directions at that time. At conclusion of when we've heard everybody from the public, we'll then bring the discussion back to the board and hopefully to progress towards some sort of resolution or vote this evening. So with that, Brad, I will turn it over to you, sir.
Yes, good evening. My name is Brad Etherly, Senior Planner for MAPD. We are discussing tonight case con 2024-00020. Please forgive me. I've had a summer cold, not contagious, but not getting any younger and it's lingering, so I might have to clear my throat a few times. The applicant here is requesting an amendment to a conditional use to permit outdoor entertainment / dancing and modify the hours of operation of the outdoor entertainment on property zoned LC Limited Commercial District with a total of 1.17 acres and located approximately 700 feet east of North Tyler Road and north of West 21st Street North with the address of 8558 West 21st Street North. In 2012, the property received a conditional use to permit a nightclub in the city. And the conditions pertaining to this property are listed in the staff report, but really only one really was pertaining to what we're discussing today is that number one, no outside loudspeakers or entertainment, including dancing, would be allowed. On January 2nd of this year, the Wichita City Council approved changes to the UZC, the Unified Zoning Code, to define entertainment establishment in the city as a venue that allows alcohol and live entertainment with a maximum capacity of less than 300 persons. Section 3D6W of the UZC requires a conditional use for entertainment establishment in the city when the site is within 300 feet of public park. Under this current code, the use established on the property would not be considered a nightclub in the city. The use would be considered an entertainment establishment in the city. The property does abut SF5, single family residential district to the north and the northwest. The UZC requires a conditional use for outdoor service of food or drink as an accessory part of the operation of a tavern or drinking establishment, nightclub in the city, or event center, or in this case, an entertainment establishment. If the property is located within 300 feet of a church, place of worship, public park, school, or residential zoning district. And shall be subject to the conditions listed in the staff report. So the reason we're here today is because of that closeness, that proximity to the SF5 district, which is just north of the property that's being applied for this conditional use. I'm going to change things up from what I normally do, and I'm actually going to go to the case history first before we go into what the applicant is requesting, because I think that will kind of explain a little bit of how we got here. So on March 12th, 1989, this site was platted as part of the Reflection Ridge 3rd Edition. In 1999, a conditional use was granted to allow outdoor entertainment and recreation. However, that conditional use was only valid for 6 months from the date of the Wichita City Council approval. In 2012, a conditional use was granted to allow a nightclub in the city for live music, dancing, and karaoke. However, the conditional use prohibited outside loudspeakers and entertainment, including dancing. In 2022, an application for a similar request was made that was denied by the MAPC. So what we're doing today is discussing what the applicant is requesting now, and they have made a few changes to the conditional use language for consideration. Number one, outside entertainment, outdoor speakers and dancing would be allowed on existing outdoor spaces. Any new outdoor spaces would require an administrative adjustment to the conditional use permit. Number two, no noise generated in conjunction with the outdoor use shall exceed a sound level of 5 decibels over the normal background noise. Any amplifiers or speakers shall be pointed toward the building and not toward any property line of any residential use. If lighting facilities are provided, the intensity of light and arrangements of reflectors shall be such as to not interfere with residential uses. And number four, outdoor entertainment and dancing is allowed until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday only. Staff recommends a few changes to the requested language that limits the conditional use to the suite that the establishment is located only. Staff also recommends adding a starting time of 12 p.m. on days outdoor entertainment is allowed, as well as adhering to the screening requirements of the UZC and the landscape buffer requirements of the Wichita Landscape Ordinance. Currently, no screening exists between the property and the adjacent residential zoning to the north, which is a golf course. A few trees are adjacent to the subject property. However, the trees are not on the subject property and therefore do not satisfy the current screening or landscaping requirements of the UZC. The applicant is not proposing any screening, but staff recommends that screening would be appropriate at this location. If we can go to the zoning map, Teresa. A little bit further. Yep, zoning map. So as you can see, all those what are actually gray spaces, but they look like they're white, are all SF5. So you've got the single lots that are SF5, but you also have the golf course that is just north of the subject property, which is a single family residential. So that's why we're here. If that was not an SF5, we wouldn't be here tonight. That's basically the gist of it. Because all of those single family properties are further than the 300-foot requirement. So it's that golf course that's zoned SF5. That's why we're here. But the subject site is within a commercial shopping center. Property to the north is zoned SF5 and is developed with the golf course. Properties to the south across West 21st Street are zoned LC, limited commercial, and GC, general commercial, and are developed with fast food restaurants, car rental facilities. Properties to the east are zoned LC, limited commercial, and are developed with a dance studio and a medical facility. And then property to the west is zoned GC, general commercial, and is developed with a vehicle sales operation. We've already gone through the case history, public services. The site has direct access to West 21st Street North, which is a paved 5-lane arterial with a sidewalk on the north side. Wichita Transit serves the subject properties within 1/4 mile west on the northeast corner of West 21st Street North and North Tyler Road. All municipal services are in place and can accommodate the required services to the site. We can go to the future growth map. Should be the next one down. Yeah. You can see here that the proposed application is in conformance with the 2035 future growth concept map of the community investments plan. The map identifies the area in which the site is located to be appropriate for new employment. However, the proposed application is not in conformance with the locational guidelines of the community investments plans and plan. The locational guidelines state that non-residential uses should have site design features that limit traffic, noise, lighting, and adverse impacts on surrounding residential land uses. The intensity of the use with the outdoor noise next to residential use could have negative impacts. However, staff feels that with the recommended conditions of approval, those are designed to mitigate negative impacts. If we can go to the site pics. So this is looking north towards the subject site. And then we're looking south through the parking lot to the across West 21st Street there. And then we're looking east at the advanced recital building and the medical facility. And then if you can scroll down, should have a few more. Yep, this is looking north from the patio, which is basically where we're talking about where the outdoor entertainment would be. You can see the golf course and then the residential uses behind that. And then, of course, looking west, you can see Dudley's and then the Carvana site beyond that. So I also would like to say that if you did speak at the MAPC meeting, you should have received a notice talking about the petition process. I apologize. I did make a typo in Teresa's email account. It should have been TCVZ instead of just TVZ. But that shouldn't affect anything about the petitions going forward or contacting me. That's really just kind of to get information about this meeting. So I apologize about that. And then lastly, staff recommends approval of the conditional use subject to the conditions listed in the staff report. And those are based on the golden rules. I do know that the applicant and the applicant's agent are in the crowd, so they are available. And I can also stand for any questions.
Thank you, Brad. Okay, at this time, we will bring questions back to the board. Dad, both those online and those present in attendance.
I need you to repeat something that you said.
Sure.
We're only here because, is it the golf course area?
Yes, so
Okay, so not the residential area, but we're here because the openness of the golf course.
we're here because the residential areas are more than 300 feet away. If they were closer, then they would be a reason, but because it's about zoning and not usage. So you've got the zones and then you've got the use. And the residential uses are also zoned SF5, but they're too far away for this to be considered a conditional use if that golf course wasn't zoned SF5, which it is. So it's a little bit of a moot point, but it's about how close you are to a zoning district.
I just needed you
Yeah,
to repeat that.
no problem.
That thing.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a gray issue, but it's about the zoning, not the use.
Can you go into some detail about the screening,
Sure.
what that consists of and how that will help?
So anytime you have a commercial development next to again, a zone, residential zone, not a residential use, but a residential zone, the UZC requires solid screening, which typically involves a 6 to 8 foot wall. I'm sure you've all seen these walls all around Wichita. For whatever reason, this property does not have that currently, although they do have a 5 foot wide wall easement for the placement of the future wall at some point, I guess. And so we are recommending, because it's a commercial development, abutting a residential zone, that they would adhere to that.
You said it'd be concrete.
It could be concrete, masonry, any kind of, it's all spelled out in the code. And these are, like I said, commonplace throughout all of Wichita, so.
Thank you.
Yes.
Is there any scientific studies that show that if you had a 6 to 8 foot wall, what kind of sound abatement it would result in?
I couldn't answer that question. I just know that because of the situation and because typically we require commercial developments to have walls, we're adding that as a condition to this request. Basically to bring them into conformance, if nothing else, but it should help with some of the noise. Certainly it shouldn't hurt.
Any other questions for Brad? But I failed to mention in my procedural overview. What we will do, just once questions are exhausted for Brad, we will invite the applicant and the applicant's agent, should they show wish, to give a brief presentation before we go to public comment. Question in the back.
There is one of those walls behind the church and the school that are just to the east of this property. Will it have to match so that it looks like the other neighborhoods in Wichita?
I don't believe that they are required to match those walls, but that would be probably more of a decision for the MABCD department as they go forward. Yes, sir.
Whose expense would the wall be built?
The developers, the applicants. Yes, sir.
The wall, you say 5-foot wall. Now,
6 to 8.
6 to 8.
6 to 8 foot wall. Is that 6 foot, 8 foot from the ground, or is that 6 to 8 foot from the deck, top of the deck where the speakers are?
6 to 8 feet from grade.
That won't help much if the deck is up 2 or 3 feet above it.
All I can do is what code requires. Yes, sir.
The wall in question, or one like it, is pictured there by what's Carvana, their lot. That's, I believe, is a 6-foot wall.
If you look, I'm almost.
You're almost tall enough. That's one that's of poured concrete to resemble the masonry wall. And also the one along Ridge Point Church and Harvest by name, that east-west line, that's up against the Garden Ridge triangular shaped patio home is one.
There's a wall that goes around Reflection Ridge.
Yes, exactly.
Same kind of situation. Yes, sir.
It's my understanding you say that speakers have to be pointed back towards the venue,
Correct,
not out towards the
Correct.
golf course,
correct,
even though the wall exists.
correct. Yes, sir.
Does the close proximity of the church east of that have any effect on this?
I don't believe so. I believe that they're beyond the 300-foot requirement as well. Jennifer, you have a comment?
I was curious about, Sister, if we are supposed to do public comment right now, questions or.
Well, if there are any more pertinent questions, short questions for Brad before I swap out the presenter, we can field those now, but we will have 3-minute opportunities for comment from everybody. So if there are any more like specific questions for Brad as the planner in this case. Yes, sir.
Where does the 300-foot?
Sure.
You know, it sounds kind of arbitrary and capricious.
So it's not, it's in the code. So if you can scroll back up to the zoning map, will be fine. So we've got this blue line around those property lines. Basically, you draw a 300-foot circle from those property lines. And so anything that is within that would qualify as, if there's a church, a park, residential zone, which with that golf course, it is. I even believe that the Reflection Ridge apartments, senior living there, with that green is actually general office. With the residential portion of that property being zoned S5 at the top, I believe that that's beyond the 300 foot line. Now, this one that says BZA 196, it may be SF5, and it looks like it would be, so they're also abutting. So like I said, the golf course kind of negates whatever other issues there might be because it is SF5, so that's why we're here.
And the 300 feet applies to everything, including audio.
I don't know what you, so let me explain. So let me explain a little bit more. So if they're going to apply for basically an entertainment establishment, which is what this use is considered, that's what's the impetus for this conditional use. Whether or not they're having outdoor speakers or anything like that is kind of not necessarily the point. It's just any kind of entertainment. If it's live music, if they're serving food or alcohol outside, that also kicks this in. That's where the 300-foot radius is applied to.
My point, I think, is that audio in an open area carries for far beyond 300 feet.
Like a megaphone.
Yeah, that's kind of neither here nor there about why we're actually going forward with this conditional use. Like I said, if that golf course was not zoned SF5, we wouldn't be here. They would have the right to do this legally, but it is, and it's zoned SF5. That's why we're here.
We're gonna suspend questions for Brad right now. I promise you, he's not going anywhere. We'll come, Dave, one more question, then we're gonna bring the applicant on.
I got a question.
My question is procedurally, can we hear from the developer before we open up public comment?
But I got a question. So we're throwing a wall around here. Does the screening have to be a stone wall?
In this case, I think that it would be. There is a clause for rear and side yard, rear and side lot lines. That would allow for landscaping to be used in place. But those are only for certain uses, and this would not qualify for those uses. It's for things like office use and multifamily, things like that, that are a little bit less intrusive. And so for this case, we would require the screening wall.
Like a fence, could a fence work?
No, because fences are, they are not as solid as a screening wall. So fence would probably not be allowed in this case.
Any other questions from the board? All right, at this time, Brad, thank you very much. We invite the applicant present to come give a brief presentation. And sir, if you could, when you're addressing the board and the crowd this evening, and I suspect you already have this design in your remarks. Brad gave us a brief overview of the historical context that's led us up. In a lot of the correspondence we received from the citizenry leading into tonight, a lot of them cited the fact that there was a similar request just 2 years ago that was denied by MAPC and this DAB. In your remarks, could you give us sort of a salient verbal bullet point of the.
That's a tall order, but.
Right, I know, just from as layman as you can, so that folks present can understand what material changes have transpired from that request to today. Either from you and then Brad, even from a regulatory perspective, that way we can sort of paint a mental contrast of what the decision was 2 years ago versus what we're on.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll do that. My name is Chris Baum. I'm with Garver, an engineering firm here in town. I'm the agent for the applicant. And Brad gave you the zoning kind of history and everything. I'm gonna kick it off with a little history of the site, the physical history of it. The Humidor opened as a lounge and actually an entertainment venue as well in the fall of 2020. So before that, it was open, it was a cigar shop, but they made it into a lounge in 2020. So in April of 2022, they built the patio and a stage out back, and they prepared for outdoor music. And on April 29th, 2022, they had their first outdoor concert. So it was met with great appeal from the patrons, and they continued. So April, May, June, they had multiple outdoor concerts, and things were going fairly well. There were no, that I'm aware of, formal complaints about noise up until the 23rd of July of 2022. There was a particular concert that was too loud and went too long, and there were a lot of complaints filed by that. That's one of the reasons we're here tonight. That incident caused a lot of issues in the neighborhood, and fair enough. And Chris Wilbur is here tonight. He, at the time at the Humidor, he was a bartender and he was there and understood what was going on. And now he's the general manager. So he understands completely the issue that was caused by that event. So after that the music moved inside. So if you've been out there, there are garage doors and there's a back patio. You can smoke cigars back there and they have music there. And then in November of 2022, they switched their music performance times. They used to end at midnight and they would end them at 11 inside of the shop. So in the meantime, that previous CUP amendment came into being after that event. So right now, currently the music's indoors. They'll open a door if it's nice. They're monitoring
the sound levels outside if they do that, just for their patrons and fresh air in spring. You can imagine how nice it is. And there's been a lot of desire from the patrons and a lot of people who live at the golf course to have the outdoor music. A lot of people would bring their golf carts down and park around the back patio when music was underway on nice summer evenings. So it was an amenity to some to come down and listen to the music. So the owner and the new manager are here today, and that's why I'm here, to talk to you about amending the CUP to allow the outdoor entertainment. So the previous request from 2 years ago, it was for Dudley's and the Humidor, so 2 properties. It would have given them both the right to utilize that patio area for an outdoor music event. That's been stricken. It's only the Humidor now. And as Brad mentioned in his staff report, it's down to the suite of the Humidor. It's just their suite number that would be allowed to have the outdoor entertainment. It's about a 50% reduction in the area of the request from the last time. Secondly, the previous request asked for entertainment Sunday through Thursday until 11 p.m. and then Friday and Saturday till midnight. So they're trying to make this work. So they backed that down. The new request before you tonight is only on Friday and Saturday, and it goes till 11 p.m. So that's another change. The other element, it was there before, it's here again, it's the sound decibel control. So Brad mentioned it, over the ambient sounds of the patio, you can have a 5 decibel increase because of the concert and the outdoor music. It's a pretty rigid standard, but it's a standard that can be measured. So there's something against which it can be measured. And because of that, it's enforceable. So you can read the text in the planning report. If the zoning administrator and the planning director agree that there's been a violation, this thing becomes null and void and it's done. The outdoor entertainment, outdoor music would be disallowed. So they have a large incentive to make sure and manage this property. And we agree with the staff conditions, and we said this at the planning commission, but we would like to look and work with planning department on landscape buffers. And it's called a screening, not a screening, but a landscape buffer in lieu of a fence or a wall. And the reason is the proximity of this patio to the golf course. It looks out over the golf course. Part of the charm and the appeal is that you have sight line from the golf course to see the patio. It allows the patrons who choose to take golf carts and come down and park by the patio to do so. A wall would just eliminate that completely. It's a big, large expanse, like it was said, it's over 300 feet to the nearest residence. It's thousands of feet of grass that go north from the back of the patio. So landscaping, yes, and we know that we'd have to meet a more rigid standard of landscaping and be willing to do that and work with planning on a suitable landscape plan and implementation to make that buffer of value to both the neighborhood and to the human. There is an ordinance in the landscape requirements that would allow that, and we'd like to work with planning on it. We believe this is a fair and reasonable request for the following reasons. It's just a super unique site. If you've been out there, if you took the time to come out and look with those garage doors out back and that beautiful patio, I mean, it's just really an idyllic setting for something like this. The humidor and the music performers, they're enjoyed by their patrons, by some of the residents in Reflection Ridge, and some of the golfers as alike. So it's just that cool of a place. And then having the ability for outdoor music at this location isn't just an amenity to the golf course and those who would choose to use it, but really for all of West Wichita. It's a unique place and a unique chance to provide entertainment in that fashion on the west side. So I'm going to recap, and then I'm going to have Chris come up and he can answer questions about the concert of note, why most of you are here tonight, and what they're doing now to manage sound, even though they're inside. So number one, we have the request area. Number two, the hours are just only on Friday and Saturday till 11. That's a big reduction. They have to manage the sound. They have to do it. And if they don't, it's enforceable and it can be struck. So with that, Chris, you want to come on up and he can answer or visit about that loud concert back in 2022. He can tell you a little bit more about what's going on now and how they're managing their music. So I'll give it to Chris and then we can answer questions. Thank you.
Just want to say thanks to the board for hearing us. Obviously, this is a very big issue, a topic that needs to be discussed as far as District 5. I took over, just a little background on me, about a year and a half ago, be September or late August, over at the Humidor, started as a bartender. Like Chris said, I was there that night, and Sunshine and Bunny went crazy. That was the name of the band. Some of you might be familiar with them. It's a loud group, obviously. We had lots of complaints. Our previous manager, one of the reasons he's no longer there was because of the mismanagement of some of those concerts. They were bashes, they were blowouts. We intend to not do that, repeat that same mistake. As part of the process for me, on a weekly Friday and Saturday, you can find me on the golf course at least 2 to 3 times a night, standing on 8, making sure that that sound is not pervasive, that it's not egregious, that it's not affecting the residential areas around our site. We've changed a few other things. We used to have Thursday night music. That was gone once I got there. I just wanted to keep reducing the chances that we were not being a good neighbor, because that's ultimately what we want to be. So we want to be able to work with, our patrons as well as the residential area, that we have an understanding that it is a great place to come to, that we provide that outdoor live music that really is limited here on the west side in Wichita. So those are kind of my areas of focus, and I will continue to do that.
Thank you, sir. Before we get to public comment, I'll bring it back. Is there any questions from the board for the applicant or the agent? Yes, Mary.
Are you expanding your patio?
Yep.
So your patio remains the same?
Absolutely.
And the people who are on your patio now listen to music, but the music comes in from the inside of the bar area and not the outside of the bar area?
Right, we have, if you haven't been there before.
I've been the outside. I did go and look at your outside area.
Right.
I just wanted to make sure about, there's music now, the music is inside. You open up your large door
Sure,
and the people who are on the patio listen to the music.
sure.
Are you talking, and you're not gonna expand the patio?
No talks about that yet.
Okay, so the people who are outside still can enjoy the music.
Depending on weather conditions, obviously.
Right.
It's a little bit cooler, we will have those shut down. Sometimes we even have bands inside where it's non-smoking. So there's some different, there's different variables. But what we're trying to do is just have that open feel, and use whatever technology we have to make concessions so that we're not blasting out the neighborhood. But be able to have that option.
So I'm still trying to picture where the outdoor music would be. In other words, if you're not expanding the patio and the people on the patio now can hear the music that's inside, does the band or the performer then come out on the patio to perform? Is that what you're looking at?
Previously, we had a stage built. So there's one area there to the west side that has a platform area, which is elevated even more, which would amplify it if you're playing a loud band, obviously. But we're constantly thinking of how we can be like that better neighborhood. If we had to move it to one side from the west side to the east side, that's an option. We're exploring different things, but really we're just asking for the opportunity. To be real, my job is gonna be infinitely harder to try to make sure that my neighbors are not calling in, because right now I've got it managed pretty good where if it's inside and pointed and I kind of move the doors around. However, it takes away from really the the cool ambience of what we are, and to have the opportunity to have it outside, I think adds just something even next level for us. So yeah, you can hear it, but can it be better? I think it can be.
I'm just trying to make sure I totally understand what you're trying to do. As far as the patio is concerned and where the music would be and
Right.
how people on the patio now happen to go at a time where, everything was open and people were listening and seemed very social on the outside, and how you want to change it and how that affects the people that are around you. So I just wanted to better
Right,
understand.
sure. Yeah, I get it. And like I said, we're just actively trying to make the best and right decision for everybody.
Okay.
appreciate the decibel level, but I'm sure there's no city ordinance that determines what kind of music can be played. But just not having been there, what's your typical type of music? Is it
It's a great
guitar?
question. Yeah, well, those blowouts and bashes were 4 and 5 man bands and drum sets and amplifiers. So it was too much, obviously. We've kind of pared it down, and I've got a great working relationship for the last year and a half with the artists and performers that come in now. I would say that we're 70% country, 2-man, 3. I think we have 1 or 2 that are 4 instrument or a vocalist and 3 instruments. But generally, Friday is a single artist or single performer, and then just a couple of the smaller 2 and 3-man groups on Saturday is what we do. No rock music. I mean, there's some cover, but nothing like Sunshine and the Bunny, if you're familiar with them, or Sweet 69, which was another one of those big blowout bashes.
Okay, anything else?
I have one more
Yes,
thing.
please.
Chris, you said that you were hoping to do away with the solid screening wall
Yes,
and instead plant landscaping.
use
throughout.
clustered landscaping along that line that's common to the golf course.
Okay.
Yes.
So then Brad, in your staff recommendations, it says the applicant will adhere to the screening requirements, which would be that 6 to 8 foot screening wall. For the unified zoning code and the landscaping buffer. So are you saying your recommendation is in fact the 6 to 8 foot screening wall plus landscaping?
Address, yeah, that's correct. So there's 2 things that we do require. We also require, in addition to the screening wall, we also do require some landscape buffers, if you'll use that term. They're more to screen some unsightly things, but they're also there to just kind of spruce up the side of, the visual side of the property. So we would, and I can't tell you right off the top of my head what the landscape ordinance is and what it would require. But whatever it is, we would ask that it be adhered to.
So Brad, I got a question. So is screening not required by code?
Screening is required by code, and that's why I'm not really sure how this property was developed without the screening wall. So anytime you have commercial property, commercially zoned property next to residentially zoned property, just like this one is, where the property is LC, limited commercial, and the golf course is SF5, we would require a screening wall. I don't know how that was not, adhered to whenever this was developed. So we're just trying to have this come into conformance, and with the added bonus of it might screen some of the noise from the residential properties as well. So that's why we're requesting that.
Thank you.
Could a landscape buffer be sufficient enough?
Like I said,
this?
I don't think so. There are some ways that landscape screening can be applied. I think that the code specifies that this is not an instance. I don't have the code committed to memory, so I may be incorrect in that. And even if it were, it requires, I think, a 15-foot buffer. And I don't think that there's enough space there for that. But again, based off the uses, I don't think that that's an option in this case.
Yes, Dave.
For the developer,
I'm just gonna stay up.
Musical chairs.
you're asking for a variance to not have a wall, but to have.
That is correct.
landscaping.
Yes.
If the city requires that you have a wall, would you not do this project?
It would be something we'd have to consider because, I mean, that's the ambiance of this location. I mean, it's a patio right on the golf course and it's unique. It's a golf course, not if it were SF5 in a home, 25 feet away, it's a whole different story to have a wall. You see it, you see Walmarts, you see quick shops with residential homes behind them, and they do have an 8-foot concrete wall. Very appropriate. This is a beautiful golf course adjacent to a beautiful patio on an upscale commercial area. And it's just so unique that we would want to use, and we're happy to work with the planning staff and prepare a landscape plan that does the most that it can to provide buffers for sound as much as it could, and then leave lines of sight and ability to drive in from the golf course. That's part of the charm of it.
I can add a little bit of how that could happen. So with MAPC, whenever the planning commission recommends either approval or denial, if the DAB also recommends the same thing, then typically the item goes to the city council as a consent item. So in this case, MAPC voted to recommend approval per staff recommendations. So the only way at this point that could happen the way he wants and the applicant wants is if you guys decided to recommend approval with condition whatever removed. And now it becomes something that the city council has to hear. They're going to hear it anyways because the protests have already started coming in. So this is already going to be going as a hearing case in front of the city council. But that way they would have the opportunity to discuss that amongst themselves, make that determination. With the protests that have already come in, that may already be because they have to hear it. So they're going to have some discussion on this, I suppose. But that's one way that you could at least let them have that conversation. Now, the reality is that city council member can always pull something from a consent item and have it heard. So even if both the MAPC and the DAB said, yes, we recommend per staff, recommend approval per staff recommendations, the individual city council member could pull that to have it heard and discuss. So at the end of the day, it really becomes city council's decision whether or not to remove a certain item. Does that make sense? No?
Just have one more to ask, and that is the buffer that we're requesting. How many sides? I know how tall it is, but how long is it? How?
It would be the complete northern portion.
Okay, so what is that?
I don't know the dimensions.
And a substantial cost to the developer as opposed to their recommendation for landscaping buffer as opposed to the brick wall that you're looking at.
I would assume it would be more expensive. I don't know that. I don't know the costs. Again, supposed to be constructed with a wall to begin with. Don't know how it didn't happen, but here we are 20 years later.
Thank you.
That would be about 150 feet of concrete wall if that was to go in. It's a catch-22. If the wall's a condition of the music and the music occurs on the patio, and then there's a complaint that nullifies the conditional use, the wall then is there and permanent, and the beauty of the patio next to the golf course is eliminated. So it's not a win-win. It doesn't create the ambiance and honor the area like you're trying to put a wall by a quick shop.
This might be outside of scope but the Reflection Bridge Golf Course, does that clubhouse have a patio space?
Yes, it does.
Does it have outdoor entertainment?
All right, we have a lot of folks in attendance that have come to be heard this evening. I do want to proceed to public comment. I want to set some ground rules before we go. We're going to invite you to come up to the podium. You will have up to 3 minutes. Yes, sir. What do you have?
Before we proceed, I do have a question in terms of what does that look like in terms of the landscape if there is no wall? What kind of landscaping could be put forth that would stop the sound from going out?
The landscape isn't necessarily going to help a lot with the sound. It's just to help with some of the sight lines. So it's so different than a commercial development that is right next to a single family home, that's within 20 or 30 feet of the back of the home. So it would be clustered opposite of the stage, maybe on the northeast corner. And then work with the golf course to see what other landscaping could be created to leave avenues to drive in with a golf cart. And then leave the site out to the golf course from the patio. So it would just be bushes, trees planted such that they would really soften that edge from the patio out to the.
Thanks so much. Good question. Okay, you will have up to 3 minutes. Rachel at the end here is going to be your timer. When you hear her phone buzz, that means you are done. Hopefully you might be done before that. Should you have questions for the planner or the applicant agent in the room, please infuse those into your comments. When you come up, please state your name and your address just so we have it for the record. Also know that if somebody preceding you has shared a point that you also hope to make, if you could, to the degree possible, try not to repeat the point, but maybe complement it with something else, another contribution that you're hoping to make, or just help the flow and the progress of this evening go that much smoother. With that, I do want to add, just as a data point, just so folks know, and this is important because it's also a moment of appreciation from our board to Teresa and Councilman Johnston here. A lot of times we'll receive a packet certainly before the meeting, and it will be infused with a lot of the correspondence from the citizenry. This was slightly different in that we were receiving the emails real time, and that bodes well because it allowed this entire board really to a greater depth review the emails from the constituents, many of whom I'm sure are here in attendance tonight. Just so you know, we did, before this evening's meeting kicked off, we did receive 15 emails in support of this amendment and 11 emails not in favor of the support. I just wanted to get that out just for people's awareness from the data. That said, I would invite the first speaker up to the podium. Come on up, sir. Please state your name and your address. You will have up to 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Paul Moffitt, and I live at 2306 North Pepper Ridge Circle, which is about a good 9-iron from the Ecuador. We have 13 children living on Pepper Ridge Circle. And I've just got a few bullet points here. Number one is trust. 2 years ago, we went through a lot of heaven. We really did. And it wasn't just one night. It was many nights. I made many phone calls to the manager of the humidor with no response. So it wasn't just one night. I mean, I'm laying in bed and I can hear the words of the songs, and I'm 400 feet away. I am outside of the quote 300 feet, but yes, it is, it's a trust issue that you all weren't even supposed to have music outside. You violated your permit. What makes me believe that you're going to continue to follow the rules when you didn't before? They had live music last weekend. It's fine, no problems. It was indoors. They had their doors open. If I go out in my front yard, yeah, I can hear it, but it's not an issue. What's an issue is when I hear it inside my house. And it was a constant for several weeks last year. Yeah, there was one night that they heard it clear at the clubhouse, which is a half a mile away. So it was really bad. When you talk about putting the amps facing the brick wall, all you're doing is making a sound chamber because you're just bouncing it off the wall, and it's going to do the same thing. So it doesn't really matter which direction you point those amps. So am I under my tree?
No, you still have 45 seconds.
45 seconds.
You don't have to take it all, sir.
Give my 45 to somebody else.
And we will sort of, just to make this orderly, we'll proceed by row. And so, sir, did you have something you'd like to say? Because I think we're just gonna go. All right, perfectly. Next. Come on, sir, you bet.
Get out everybody's line. I'm Dean Basel. I live at 2511 North Lake Ridge Circle. First thing I want to mention wasn't part of my comments. When they talk about landscape, sound barrier, or whatever they're talking about versus a wall. In October 6th, 2022, at the MAPC meeting, subdivision vice chair Deborah Foster stated, working in landscape architecture, it seems to me, I've read research that whereas landscape screening trees and shrubs could help buffer visually, it will not, in fact, particularly buffer sound, especially the lower frequencies, which is what you hear. You hear the bass beat. It travels incredibly far. So when we get discussing whether we put up a wall or we put up shrubbery, I think she knows what she's talking about. She was on the MAPC meeting. I'm going to give these. Circle shows where the humidor is compared to my back patio. You can see the humidor in my house on there. And I drew I'm at a third mile, 0.3 miles. I heard the music back in July of 2022. I've heard it since then. There are 565 homes in Reflection Ridge. And within that 0.3 mile radius, there should be 97 homes that could potentially be affected. So, I mean, there's a lot of people who've got a lot more detail than I do. I'm gonna let them do it, but I would hope you guys would step into our shoes. And if it was your neighborhood, your house, your family and your neighbors, I don't think you would want to have the noise. Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name is James Harms, Harms. You can also call him Jim. Go by that most often. I'm at 2403 North Lake Ridge Circle. Get the map up there. I'm a visual learner, so I have two illustrations for you on the map here. First, while she's searching for that, I'll cover a couple other points. Reflection Ridge, which borders this, is a covenant community. It has a giant sign out on every entrance to our area. And that involves respect for neighbors. And the appearance of the humidor, the back patio, the umbrella, the garage doors, the landscape they have currently, it looks really nice. But it stops there because the sound doesn't stop there, okay? It moves on. And that's the map I'm looking for. Thank you. Where's the point? Okay. Good. Thanks again. Here's the humidor. Two homes are within 500 feet. Right over here, those two. 26 homes are within 1,000 feet. My residence is right here. At under 1,500 feet, we hear it inside our walls because it's loud with our doors shut, our windows shut. Okay, so this whole arc here of 35 additional homes all the way up to Tyler Road, excluding these homes over. That's across a buffer that's out there already along the wall here. So 35 homes, that's just the 1,500 foot radius, if you will. 65 homes for, yeah, I guess I'm through with that slide, but that's, I've made my point on that one, I believe. This one I've got, okay. This is just a GIS map of the county, from the county. I just added from a protractor manually where those arcs appear. Now, next slide, please, Teresa. The next is a line of sight map. And I think that's important because sound goes, there's nothing to block the sound. So we have up to 2,000 feet over here to these homes. There's 50 homes that are involved, line of sight that they can see it as well as hear it. There's no structure to knock the sound down. So my point there is that it's all over. Here's where Dean, the gentleman that just spoke, when I went to his front door, through his front door, I could see the umbrellas of that. And the sound, the humidor is right back there, but that's at 1,750 feet distant. We hear the sound. So I think, to summarize here real quickly, this line of sight, add that line of sight and sound. There's an acronym there. If you just pay a little bit of attention, and humor me for a minute. Line of sight and sound, it's LOSS, LOSS.
All right, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. All right, moving on to yeah, come on up. Please do.
I am Michelle Harms. I live at 2403 North Lake Ridge Circle. A lot of what I wanted to say has already been said. 1,500 feet away, we could hear the music inside multiple times in 2022, not just once. I know they kind of like to slide over that. Yeah, they had that one time that was really loud, but it was many concerts. And we've kind of gone over tonight that, well, maybe the wall isn't gonna work. It's not gonna be feasible. And the landscaping buffer isn't gonna work because it's not gonna buffer any sound. So what's the other option? The only other option, I think, that I see is not to have the music outside. The humidor patrons who will speak yet tonight are in favor, and those will speak. Will speak in favor of the application, can still enjoy the bands and the patios if the music remains inside. The humidor's closest neighbors include patio homes, a 55+ retirement complex, and young families in single-family homes. The humidor is simply too close to the adjacent homes to allow for amplified music outdoors. Just please keep the music indoors.
Thank you. All right, next row, maybe over here.
My name is Marilyn Hughes, and I live at 2401 North Ridgeside Circle, which if you look on your page 9 of that deal, I'm on the 2nd Street. My house, I look right into the back of the humidor's patio. First of all, it's already been said, but I just want to say we experienced the disruptive nights in 2022. I laid in my bed shook from the base and things rattled on the walls. And that is no exaggeration. There was no sleep at all. Many nights, neighbors had called the humidor back then, and their comments to us was, talk to my attorney. They didn't want to work. They didn't turn it down. That was it. Children, teenagers, and adults are all affected by this. My daughter, who is here but left with a bad migraine, she works late night shift from 1 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. She goes to bed at 6 p.m. to get sleep so that she can go to work, be productive, and keep her job. I just don't think as a community with covenants and that, we should have to have that in our houses. I chose to live in Reflection Ridge because of it being a great family environment and peaceful neighborhood. My daughter and 2 teenage grandsons live with me now that I'm a widow. Put yourself in our place for just a moment. Would you like to have loud music in your house, disturbing your family life at your own house each evening? I don't think so. The humidor should have known the zoning ordinance before they added the outdoor patio. We can hear the music inside our house, even when they are playing it inside. I'm not complaining about that. But with the garage doors up, which they've got 3 or 4 garage doors that they raise up, we can hear it in our house still. I can put up with that. When it's outside, there is no possible way live bands can be out on the patio and stay within the noise ordinance at all, which is, I believe, the 5 decibels. That's been proven already many, many times. The current situation is a win-win for all of those concerned, how the ordinance is now of what they have. They have their loud music, their live music loud inside. Their patrons can hear and see the band inside And or they can sit on the patio and hear it as those large doors are up. And we can keep our peaceful neighborhood. And I might add, it's not just summertime. In the fall, they have their fire pits out there and those garage doors may be up then. So it's an almost year-round thing.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's your responsibility to protect the community also, not just the business. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. All right, moving down the road, who is next? Go ahead.
Chris Heilman, 139 South Mountain. So I don't live in this district, but I represent Wynn, Wichita Independent Neighborhoods. And so I wanted to mention a couple things as we've worked with zoning cases around the city. I think you guys have great applicants. They're great business people. They really appreciate what they've got in their environment. And I think they're hearing that maybe they're gonna lose some of that cool ambiance if they proceed with this. Because I don't think they really want a wall, but a wall would be necessary. So I'm hoping that this all sort of goes away because they see that the benefits that they have in this beautiful environment on the golf course is what they want to keep and what is valuable to them. And also valuable having happy neighbors, because you guys go to the humidor, you guys go on the golf course. And I think one of the things that people don't remember is that when they apply, even though they have all the best intentions and they are awesome, the next owner might be irascible, and the zoning stays with this property forever. So once the live music is allowed outside of this property, it doesn't change. They get to keep it forever. Next owner, next owner, next owner, right? So that's where we have to think about how this works long-term. Otherwise, also screening, just in the FYI, not saying they would let things die, but screening zoning rules, it only has to live for 2 years. So if it died and then they didn't want to replant it after 2 years, they don't have to per the rules. They probably would because they're good people, but those are the rules. Just to sort of think about the big picture stuff. Noise enforcement is also very, very difficult. We have so many violations in Wichita. I was talking to a neighbor today, Douglas, how do you enforce? I mean, you can complain about it. You can try and slow people down. It's very, very difficult to enforce noise stuff. And it sounds like they're really trying. But again, that next owner, what if they don't? You have to think long-term because you guys want to enjoy this neighborhood long-term, even after this business may be gone. Thank you so much for your time.
Brad, just to confirm that it does transfer to the next inhabitant.
Yeah, that would be correct, but also the conditions would transfer, so that 5 decibel above ambient sound would also.
It can be pulled at any point.
And so if complaints were given for loud music, then they would be investigated, and they would have the potential risk of losing the PED or the conditional. Sorry.
Thank you. But we're gonna just move on to the next speaker at this point, which is next, sir, I believe, sir.
My name is Larry Combs. I live at 2406 North Ridgeside Circle, right across the street from that lady. She's established that we can hear the music quite well, so I will dwell on that. I had sent an email, which I think most of you got quite some time ago, wanted to focus on the decision you make tonight, not a one and done. Everybody in this room will live with it for the years to come, so it's not a one and done. It's the beginning, not the end. So please keep that in mind as you move forward this evening. And the first approval, which was given last week, makes the future ones to come, and there will be future requests, I'm sure, because the only thing I see that's greatly changed from the first proposal was Dudley's has been taken out. I'm pretty sure that'll be brought back someday. So you'll be hearing this again. So give considerable thought to the out years. And the lady from Wynn touched on it. The big selling point for the humidor is the unique setting. The big selling point, when I rounded the corner and we looked at houses, when we pulled in the Reflection Ridge, was the unique setting. And the humidor had absolutely nothing to do with that unique setting, nothing. The unique setting was the quietness And the home field, when you got off 21st Street and you rounded that curve to Ridgeside Circle, you're in a whole different world. This changes the whole ballgame for the future. The sound, I guess if I'd asked you to do anything, the Pandora's box has been open. I'd hoped it would be open 2 weeks ago, but it has been. I think the owner, I think Chris, that's running the place are well intentioned, but you cannot control sound as it rolls across that golf course. And you mix in the sound and that's like trying to catch the Kansas wind and put it in the box. It's just not gonna happen. So we'll get out of control. And our only recourse, as I've checked it out, is to call the police, as if they don't have enough to do. And I talked to 3 different officers and I said, I don't want to be a nuisance. They said, you have to. We go by sheer numbers. That means all the fellow people, every time it gets out of hand, have to call. Have to call again and again, because it was explained to us at the last meeting. It's not just a couple of phone calls and this problem goes away. There's a long, drawn out process to get it shut down. And why do we even need to go down that road when we have a chance to stop it? Appreciate your time, appreciate your service. I'm much more comfortable sitting where you are. I've been a superintendent of schools, sat on the other side of the court, listening to the complaints rather than giving them. And I'm much more happy to hear the complaints than to be the one complaining. But I felt compelled to have to be here tonight to do that. Again, thank you for your time and your service. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Next on the row.
And for me,
No, you're good.
I got a statement to read, but before I begin, I would like to respectfully disagree with their characterization of how this is. I'm sorry, Nick Morton, 2309 North High Point Circle. I disagree with their characterization of how this establishment is currently being run since that loud event. They repeatedly open the garage doors. We can hear it in our house and we can't get to sleep. Also, there was earlier this year, there was a karaoke type event and it was so loud that you could hear the profanity through our neighborhood. I don't know if somebody got a hold of Mike that shouldn't have or what. To their credit, the police shut that down pretty fast. I'd like to begin by stating that I support the business of the Humidor and its patrons. A vote to deny this request would deprive patrons of nothing they currently enjoy. On the other hand, a vote to approve would have a dreadful detrimental impact to those single-family properties located in close proximity. Approval of this request would absolutely represent a loss in the use and enjoyment of our residences. Our property values would be adversely affected. I've never seen a real estate listing touting the fact that your new home will be bathed in loud outdoor entertainment each and every weekend. We currently have a traveling nurse staying with us and she works 12-hour shifts, which include Saturdays and Sundays. Should this be approved, she and others in their own unique situations would not be getting the rest that they need. The last time outdoor entertainment was used at this location, it was so intrusive that you were held captive to it with no option to escape it. Behaviors such as public intoxication, public urination, driving while under the influence, destruction of private property, fighting, and a suspect arrested for brandishing a gun were all observed. Interestingly enough, no one supporting this request lives in close proximity to the Humidor. We've been told to calm down, that this wasn't that loud. We were told there are other noises in the area, but they were already there when we bought our houses. Someone even made a comparison to noise on other holes on the golf course while they were putting. I truly hope they're not out there putting until 11 p.m. And I know they don't live and sleep on that hole. Lastly, I'm very concerned about enforcement. A commissioner from the MAPC asked how they intend to enforce the conditions and a staff member replied, "We'll be relying on the police." So neither Chris Bone, Brad Atherley, nor representatives for the LLC that owns the building, nor anyone else will be there to shut them down if they go past 11 p.m. or cause noise pollution over the established decibels. So unless your current friendships, personal relationships, networking, or business entanglements preclude you from an objective decision, I plead for you to deny, disapprove, and reject this proposal. Please help us send at least one dissenting opinion to the City Council to let them know that many of us do not approve of this request. I would ask that you please reject this proposal so we can continue to enjoy our neighborhood as it was when we bought our homes. Thank you for your time.
Next to the row. In the middle there. Come on up.
At Sharp 2313, High Point Circle, what is it?
I just live right straight up there, 4th house in. Anyway, just a comment on the landscaping thing. How long would it take for the buffer to grow enough to be effective? And then, if you've ever been there, there's a swamp behind that area, and I dare you to let anything grow there. Just an observation. I have a question on page 6. Number 16. If the zoning administrator finds that there's a violation of any of these conditions, then in addition to enforcing other remedies, blah, 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 the condition use would be null and void. How do you go about that? I mean, what recourse do we have once this is passed? I mean, we could invite you all over at 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock even, just to see how loud it is at our houses. It's not the music so much as the beat that shakes your walls. But my main question is, what's our recourse? I've heard it's very difficult to get something like this changed, but if there are violations, how do we go about changing things? I don't.
We'll save it for, then respond later. Yeah,
Okay.
you can take the rest of your 3 minutes. If you have
That's all.
anything else. Okay. fine.
Thank you.
I think we're in row, is it 4? Anybody else?
Greg Sharp, 2313 North High Point Circle. Mine's very short is, we like our area, we like our decks, we like to entertain our decks. We don't like to listen to other entertainments while we're on our deck. And that's generally on Friday and Saturday. It just erupts everything. So it's bad. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else from that row before we move to the next? All right, to the row behind.
White Green Link, 8207 West Reflection Road Court. I believe most of the things that I had in mind have been voiced this evening. But I would say the point about the profanity that comes over the mic, whether who has control of the mic, I have no idea. That is disturbing for the neighborhood. And then noise, the low volume noise does actually shake the walls. And I'm well out of the 300-foot range. I would hope that all of you sitting here tonight would respect your own property values to prohibit something like this in your neighborhood. I ask you to please consider the value of the properties, the taxes we pay in that community, and consider our personal obligation to those responsibilities. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Paul Highcotter, 8203 Reflection Road. I'm not gonna spell my name because I don't want to use up 3 minutes. We've been in our residence for 33 years. And I thank you for listening to the residents, whose quality of life is being affected by the broadcast of outside live music. It doesn't really matter what decibel levels are set, or where you set your ambient decibel level. That's a floating number that is never the same. I worked in a certified research sound laboratory in LA for 6 years. I pretty much know what I'm talking about ambient sound. What really matters is residents within 2,000 feet the broadcast of sound should not be forced to listen to. Patrons of the humidor have every right to have drinks or smoke with friends. That's not the issue. The issue is residents should have the right to enjoy a peaceful environment inside their home. I did some Google searches and I asked, what US cities allow commercial outdoor live music entertainment adjacent to a residential area? And 0 is listed, 0. I then said, what areas in Wichita, Kansas zone outdoor entertainment live music adjacent to a residential area? Again, nothing listed. Would this be the first for Wichita opening the door up for other residential areas if this is approved? The request to allow for 11 hours music every Friday and Saturday makes no sense at all. Some paint an outdoor music entertainment area as a jewel for West Wichita. However, most of those who say that do not live within the broadcast. Please consider the effect this has on residents' lives as well as property values. One family has already moved out of the neighborhood on Pepper Ridge because their children couldn't sleep. We don't need people moving out. I thank you for your attention, your consideration, and hopefully your compassion. Thank you.
Next in that row. Okay, we'll go to the row behind. Get on this.
Trevor Kerr, 7504 Westport. I just want to touch on, I don't have a dog in this fight, but I want to read you the zoning code for screening. So in the staff report, it says section 4B of the Unified Zoning Code. So screening standards. This is in section 3 of 4B. Solid screening shall be required except in those situations where a landscape, street yard, or landscape buffer sufficient to comply with section 4B3C are allowed. That doesn't apply. Screening may be provided by screening fences, screening walls, vegetation, landscaped earth berms, or landscaping per the Wichita City Ordinance, Wichita Landscape Ordinance. Screening fences or screening walls shall not be less than 6 feet or 8 feet in height, except within 20 feet or 3 right away. Further, when solid screening is required and vegetation or landscaped earth berms are proposed for the solid screening, a landscape plan shall be submitted to the planning director. There are many tools in the toolbox. A wall is one of them, as is a fence, as is vegetation, as is a landscaped berm. So that's just to clarify questions earlier. Thank you.
Chance to rebut at the end, just.
Yeah, at the end, you bet. Yes, sir. Does that take us? Sir, did you want to speak? All right, then we'll go to the row behind. That takes us, I think, our final row.
Are you gonna go?
Stan McIntosh, 13694 Highland Springs Court here in Wichita. I guess I just want to be a proponent of the humidor. They have committed to managing the sound moving forward. And I say give them the shot. It is a great place to spend time with family and your friends. So I'm just asking for you guys to give it a shot. They have committed to shutting it down if it's out of control. Chris said no more loud rock bands. Typically, not the stereotype, that's the folks that say the negative about language that you're hearing. So I would just ask that you, again, give them a shot. They're committed to fixing that moving forward. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Evening. My name is Bill Stout. I live in District 5. We've heard repetitive remarks over and over again. I just want to address a few directly. So keep talking about a wall, screen, whatever you want to call it. I think we all know what it really means. It means put up an unsightly structure that blocks the viewpoint from those who are paying to attend. It also creates a monstrous, ugly, unsightly structure along the golf course. There's enough of those now, to be honest. So let's talk about a couple of things. I like the word trust. I agree, there needs to be trust. But trust is a two-way street. You cannot immediately believe that someone isn't going to do something based on something that occurred over 2 years ago. And I keep hearing 2022, 2022. What is today? It's June 3rd, 2022. Can we at least acknowledge that things do change? I also heard somebody talking about the children couldn't sleep. Well, I understand that. And somebody said their daughter gets up and has to go to work at 6 or at 6, goes to bed at 6 p.m., excuse me. I worked third shift for a long time. I understand what a day sleeper is. I also understand that we have to understand that neighborhoods do evolve. People do enjoying themselves. Someone made the comment they didn't like other people's music, and that's absurd. You know, I'm surrounded by neighbors as well. Quite often they throw parties. I have to listen to their music. I don't immediately call the police and complain. I absolutely feel what you're talking about. I understand how we want to keep our neighborhoods the way we like them, but things do change. And there's nothing wrong with allowing a little bit of trust that maybe people can change and evolve the way you would like them to act. But immediately screaming that my walls are thumping, brandishing a gun, public urination, DUI, I want it as it was. Well, I'd like my property as it was, but it isn't. I'd like my home values to be what they used to be. Somebody kept talking about they're going to reduce your home value. That's crazy. You live in Sedgwick County. Your taxes are going up every year because your home values are going up. The assessors are not lowering your property value. So, and then my favorite, profanity. Welcome to 2024 and the First Amendment. You don't have to like it, but that's just the way it is. And quite frankly, but it does.
Ask for decorum, respect the speaker, please. Thank you.
It does. You see, I'm a constitutionalist. I've served my country.
All right, sir.
I was also in law enforcement.
Thank you for your
And I
time.
promise you, the First Amendment applies.
Any other speakers from the back row before we completed anybody? Okay, then that takes us to the seats against the wall and in the corner. Anybody from the windows or the wall?
Not that type of meeting.
We needed a moment of levity.
Hey, Bruce. 2418 North Morning Dew Street. I didn't bring my prepared comments. I preferred to listen to what everybody was saying and try not to belabor points, but one of you was asking about, is the band going to be allowed outside? Is it going to be on the stage? I'm a vocal performance major. If it's allowed outside and it's put on a platform, that's a reverberation problem because it will be an automatic tool to make the noise louder. The building itself is like a cello box or a reverberation platform. It's a box and it has the doors. And when the doors are open, it makes it reverberate more, which once again, makes it something that's going to make more noise, not less. So then when you asked about the speakers, so are the speakers on the patio, even if they're facing toward the building, are they small speakers? I haven't been over there. I've been in cancer care. So are they small speakers? Are they the kind of thing like when I walk around Nashville, Tennessee, they're all over the sidewalks and so you hear the music a little bit? Or are they great big speakers that actually boom outward because they have woofers in them, which will create trouble for all of us? The patio did not exist until COVID. The patio was not there. It was not an outdoor venue. So we allowed the patio to keep the business running. I understand that, but then the patio was made bigger. So that's 2 additions. And then he wasn't following the rules, whether it's the current person or another person. Again, it will happen over and over and over again that we're constantly trying to get somebody to follow rules. We were told at the MAPC meeting that we needed to rely on the police when it finally came to the agent and the attorney or the humidor have been telling us that the moment they do something wrong, it's gonna be shut down right away. That you guys and your agent were gonna shut it down. Those are the rules. But then when it came to asking legal said, no, that is not the case. The case is we have to rely on the police. So how many times do we have to call the police? At what point are you guys gonna say no? They've already not followed the rules. I understand and do appreciate that they're trying to do a better job of it. But the noise needs to stay inside the building. We all bought the golf course. They did not buy the golf course. They didn't buy that property because it's on the golf course. That all happened when the patio got put outside for COVID. Thank you.
Sir, you had raised your hand and you haven't had a chance to speak yet. Would you like to come up to the church?
My name's Robert Truex. I live at 2310 North Pepperidge Circle, also on that first block that you can see there. With regards to the trust and trusting the humidor, one thing I might point out is that, as you mentioned, you're unsure how there's a lack of screening to begin with. They've shown they've demonstrated a willingness to kind of skirt the rules and even break them to achieve their goals of like the live music. So I have very little trust in the ownership of the humidor or the management of the humidor or the representatives that are here today. They continue to tell us that there was one night in 2022 with loud music that caused all these problems. That's just factually incorrect. They can continue saying that all they want. It's just not true. So, I mean, you're all welcome to trust them if you'd like to, but they've given no reason for me to trust them. So, thanks.
All right. Any others in the further? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Take this pass, we can get out of here faster on us. Everybody look great. Got a few pictures here we're gonna pass around them because they're appropriate for a few of the questions that some of you had. I wasn't going to take them. You should have got them, but I want you to just look at them and just take a look at that. You get my name and address before you put that. I'm gonna need it for a second. My name's Kevin, last name Shaw, 2402 North Ridgeside Circle. And folks, let your common sense guide you here. You don't have to be a musician, a PhD in audiology, any of those things. Trust me. All you have to do is just listen and let your ears and use your common sense. Brad had indicated is that the golf course was a gray area. Oh, no, it's not. Trust me. Is that golf course acts as a venturi. And if you're familiar with the venturi, the principles of it, it channels that sound right down through there. There's nothing really to stop it that way. It just rolls right down through that golf course way. So it is not a gray area. This is, quite frankly, is a very critical piece of why the sound travels that way. And so all you got to use some common sense and understand is that trying to contain sound with a 3 or 4 or 5 piece rock and roll group, or even a moderate group with basses, drums, guitars, vocals, you are not going to curtail that. As a musician, I've paid hundreds of these gigs, and trust me, you can't control this, not particularly when you hit the air in the window there. And that's really the big issue. You got about 60 to 80 homes in this general area. And we're not just talking about decibel ratings. We're talking about, and not talking about theory, we're talking about something that we experience if you're close in to that zone right there. And for example, 4 to 5 weeks ago, I was out on the 7th hole about approximately 40 yards. With the doors up, they had 2 guys, only 2 musicians in there with amplification. I'm reporting 80 dBs, 80 decibels with 2 guys, 40s out on the 7th hole. You imagine putting that out on the back patio. I can hear just the people talking, laughing, having a good time. You know,
I have no problem with that. I was out there at 12:30 last night and listened to them on my porch, and I'm about a tenth of a mile away. But at that tenth of a mile away, my normal decibels are about 55 to 59, depending on traffic. I was recording 70 dBs in September of 2022. And I'm not going to get into all the decibel ratings and how to sit there and try to sit there and justify for decimals, but sound travels, and this is where the common sense come in. Sound travels at 750 miles per hour, the speed of sound. When those bass decibels at 20 to 60 hertz hits that wind, you can't shut that down. It's like a boombox coming by. And if you've ever experienced what you all have, a boombox with a car coming by, the problem is the car is just stopping now. It's not continuing to go, it's stopping. And I tell you now, when all of the paid agents are gone and have packed their bags, and everybody else and the board members are long gone, we're gonna have to deal with the fallout.
Thank you, sir.
Not you.
Appreciate your time.
We are.
Okay, is there
Thank you.
anybody else in the room that would like to speak? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Dan Drew. I work at 3636 North Ridge Road, Wichita, Kansas. I live, I eat, I sleep, I pray, I play, all here in District 5. I'm here on behalf of two adjacent property owners. The one at 2231 Reflection Road, that's a building that currently houses Encore, and then another building at 8850 West 21st Street. That's owned by Cutting Edge Properties, that currently is being leased out to Dudley's and to ABC Liquor. I have talked to my clients. They have reviewed the application. There was some commentary a couple weeks ago that this was a redo from 2022. This isn't a redo of 2022. If you actually read the language within the application, this is very different. It's dynamic. There's a lot of restrictions. It's not a permit. There's an ability here, and Chris can speak to this, where this can actually be removed from the humidor if they're in violation of it. My clients look at the humidor, its ownership, as good partners in business. There's shared clientele among that community. One client in particular looks at this property, as I do too, as a gem of Wichita. I mean, it really is. You have a lot of different communities throughout the country, like Beale Street and that Broadway in Nashville, and M Street in Georgetown, and Bourbon Street, where you had residential property first, and then you had the music come in second. My clients have faith in the ownership that they'll do what they intend to do and what they presented tonight. Thank you very much for it.
I just want to clarify one little point that's kind of, I hear people talking about it. When the humidor wants to play their music and stop at 11 PM at night. They also want to start at 12 noon every Friday and Saturday night. They have that option if this passes. So we're not looking at music for 2 to 3 hours on a Friday and a Saturday night. We're potentially looking at, it could be from noon on Friday and Saturday nights to 11 PM. So we're not looking at 2 hours, 3 hours. We're looking at a longer period of time, and we're looking at 52 weeks out of the year. It's not occasional. They may not play that often, but if this passes, they do have that opportunity to continue for that length of time. And we will hold them accountable to what they have said. We will call the police if it gets out of hand. And we will all stick together if we need to. I hope they live up to their words and can keep things down. But you must think about the hours that we have to potentially be concerned with as residents and that we have to put up with every weekend of the year. And I don't think any of you would want that in your backyards every weekend. It's not occasional. It is every weekend. And that's, I want you to take all of that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional persons here this evening that would like to address the board in this moment of public comment? Not seeing any. Okay, so what we're going to do from here, I'm going to invite the applicant and the agent back up to address any comments that they heard. At the conclusion of that, I'll invite Brad back up with the agent and applicant to field some questions and comments as we return the discussion back to this board.
Thank you again, Chris Spohn from Barber. Just a brief rebuttal. The music that's been too loud is regrettable in the past. It most certainly is, and that's the reason that we're here. We wish we weren't. We wish those things wouldn't have happened, but they have. This new condition is punitive. It has a restriction of sound. It has a remedy for sound. It could even go further than the sound into the whole conditional use to allow the entertainment on the site. So into the whole idea of liquor license and all of that. So imagine their concern with doing this correctly. So the ramifications of that never come to pass. They're asking for another chance, another opportunity. This is a unique setting. It provides a unique opportunity for entertainment in West Wichita. And they want to be good neighbors. They want to do this right. We wouldn't be here if they didn't want to do it. So please consider this. Please give them another chance to demonstrate to you, to the neighbors, that they can undertake this. It will police itself if complaints roll in. And with that, I'd stand for any questions.
But Brad, if you wouldn't mind just standing up, and then I'm going to start with the first question and we'll get things rolling. There's a question from one of the citizens in the room about recourse. Sure. And there's been talk about, right, that this is, there's a process in place. Yeah. Could you, to the degree you're knowledgeable, talk about in the detail that you know, what that process would look like? Should there be, what the decibel standards are and what there would be in a violation of system?
And I want to clarify that it's not just about the decibel levels, it's about anything that these conditions touch upon. So if they were to expand beyond the suite that they're in, if they were to have lighting, whether that be, event lighting for the performers or whatever that starts to encroach beyond their property, if they start dealing with times that are not allowed, any of those things are enforceable. Now, as far as enforcement goes, it is not a one and done situation. So say they, violate some of these conditions, then it becomes an enforcement issue. It is correct that we will not be coming out there as planning and zoning staff. We never do. There are code enforcement employees, but they work not 8 to 5, just like the rest of us. And so in this kind of a situation, it would be incumbent upon the police to respond. They are equipped with noise reading equipment so that they could, take a reading of what's going on. I'm not gonna sit here and lie that, what is ambient noise? Well, that's, what people are doing in a situation normally without the music. And then they're allowed 5 decibels above that. All very tricky to kind of compartmentalize in a noise complaint, I understand. So that's why I want to make sure that it's not just about the noise, it's about all the other stuff that are conditions of this request. But if it is found that they are in violation, then they will have an opportunity to correct it. Like I said, it's not like a one strike and you're done kind of situation. They will have the opportunity to correct the situation. And then after that, I really can't speak to it because I'm not in that Department of Enforcement. But I understand that there are legal ramifications after that, fines, things like that. So that's how enforcement would occur. Want to make sure that it's not a one strike and you're done situation.
Discussion brought back to the board at this point. Open for questions, comments.
Just a couple on my behalf. It sounds like neither side wants a wall for different reasons.
And let me.
We want a wall. We want the wall. Yeah, you have the.
We don't want to. So let me also explain, so the condition states, and let me just read it. I'll have to find it, give me a second. The applicant will adhere to the screening requirements of the Unified Zoning Code and the landscape buffer requirements of the Wichita Landscape Ordinance around the patio. So I've been trying to scour the code after the gentleman kind of explained what screening could mean. And it is unclear if it has to be a wall, could be a fence, could be, but I think that in this situation, this is just off the cuff, without really getting into the code and the ordinances, I think that it would be a wall that would be required. So is it possible that it could be something else? Yes. But that will all occur as permits come through the MABCD department, things like that. So, yeah, I mean, it's maybe up for interpretation.
Well, before I get a reaction again. Like I said, the developer doesn't want a wall because of the ambiance of the setting. Residents don't particularly want a wall because they don't think it negates the sound. Right? What you said. And my concern also, and I'm not a scientist, so I have to go by what people have shared. 50 decibels. If this gentleman says that even currently, a couple of weeks ago, that he measured 70 decibels quite a few feet away. I'm sorry? 80, okay. 5 versus 80. It almost sounds like the only kind of music you could have on that patio to comply with the decibel level would be a non-amplified music.
And that would be up to the applicant to comply.
That's my comment.
It's the.
Discussion is back at the board at this point for right now. And hey, Grace and Wendy, I just want to let you guys know this would be an opportunity for you to chime in if you had any comments you wanted to share virtually online. Right, could you share? This was approved by the MAPC with the condition you just cited and that Mr. Kurth gave us the options on, right? So the MAPC said we approved for the staff condition.
They did not change any of the staff recommendations, correct?
So I wanna put forward that I love the idea for the opportunity for them to have live music outside. I think in terms of the value that brings to West Wichita, I think it is an amazing opportunity. With that being said, what I struggle greatly with is the enforcement piece. With the opportunity, if things do go awry, what is the remedy in the situation for the neighbor? Particularly hearing the enforcement piece. Just to be frank, I don't believe that we should be utilizing our Wichita Police Department as enforcement in terms of sound and trying to regulate with the tough that their job already is. So utilizing them as a resource to have to simply try to be the mitigators in this particular situation. I don't think that's a good allocation of our resources in that capacity. So I really wish that there was a stronger component in place coming to this in terms of the enforcement piece to go forward with this, but at the same time to give the residents immediate and direct action to be able to say, hey, these things are happening. This is what we're noticing, and have somebody in an official capacity be there to note those Because as talented as our Wichita Police Department are, they're not sound experts and things of that nature. So then the calls could be subjective, and how many times does it take for them to have to come out before things escalate? So that's where I'm at with that, where my biggest struggle is with that. I love the humidor, I'd love for this to go through. But I understand you, I get it, and if I were in your position, I would want some opportunities to have direct documented recourse if things do go awry, to where I can get that peace of quiet back in my neighborhood.
Well, and I think the humidor, they don't want enforcement. They don't want to have that even be an issue. That their goal is not to have that even happen. So it's in their best interests never to have a call. So the conditions are very incumbent upon them to try and make that happen.
Chris, can you explain to me the steps that the humidor has taken between today and 2022? Where it sounds like a majority of these noise complaints are coming from. What have you done to lessen the impact on your neighbors?
Well, the music's been inside since after the complaint back in 2022. Chris Wilbert mentioned earlier that he goes out and is checking on that hole next door of the sound levels if they do open a door, but they have an indoor performer. So as far as music being performed outside, they just haven't done it. So those are the steps they've been taking of late to comply. They did back the music down to an 11 p.m. I mentioned that earlier. In November of 2022, they backed the music down to an 11 p.m. stop time. Just as a courtesy to the neighborhood, because that just made sense. They start at noon. The reason the staff report mentions noon as a start time, you've got to set a start time. So you have a window and then bands set up and prepare and such. So they usually wouldn't start music at noon, but they want the opportunity to have a band get set up in the afternoon to have a musical set in the evening.
I'll speak to that just for a second. So city staff has really tried to figure out how to keep bands from, ending at 11 and then starting back up at midnight, right? And so kind of trying to allow them to start at noon as opposed to, quitting at 11 and then starting back up an hour later is something that we're kind of doing as a standard. It's not just in the city, it's also in the county with event centers becoming very popular, especially out in the county. We're trying to just kind of come up with standards for start times and end times. And the end times can vary depending on where a location is, but in this location, 11 o'clock was provided by the applicant. We were fine with that.
All right, discussion is still with the board. I'll remind everyone there is a staff recommendation in the reports. We're seeking some form of a motion either for that recommendation or something else different. Questions, comments, recommendations?
If you move to the outside, what would be the amplification or the speaker side? Do you guys have that already? Or is that depending on what the band?
I think it'd be dependent upon the band and the time of the year and many factors. But suffice it to say, they would have to monitor that for their own self-enforcement. Again, they don't want to generate a complaint. That's not their goal here. Right. It's to manage it from the start for every show.
Yeah, questions or comments for our applicant or city staff? Everybody prepared to make a recommendation or a motion on this item?
Grace would like to make a motion to approve as is with no amendments.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor from Grace, who's joining us via Zoom virtually to adopt the staff recommendation with the conditions that noted, no further changes. Is there a second for that motion? Got a second. Okay, before we take a vote, any further conversation?
Yes, I thought you said we could have questions.
I'm sorry, sir. The public,
You told me that twice.
public comment is done. Okay, all in favor, say aye. We have to do a count on this.
Do a count down the road.
Yeah, all in favor, yeah, we'll do hands, actually, if we could, all in favor, put your hands up. Aye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 ayes. Do we have any online?
I from Grace and I from Wendy.
So that's 6, 7.
It's two. Who else vote for it?
1, 2, 3, 4.
5,
6.
6. 6. Right.
All opposed, raise your hand. So 1, 2, 3, 3 opposed.
Abstention.
Okay, right. Jennifer's abstaining. Okay. That motion passes 6 to 3 if the count is correct. 6-3 with 1 abstention. Thank you.
Is there any pressure on this group to vote? Because one of the city council people is one of the people who has money in the whole game.
Not true.
Kind of let us know.
Not true.
Because we don't know what to do over there on Friday and Saturday night when we want our time to ourselves.
I'm no
I
longer.
bought my home.
I'm no longer on the city council.
Ma'am, I appreciate it.
No, but you're,
And I do not have a financial.
you're very
ownership.
present. Then why did you recuse yourself at the MAPC? Because you have,
Well, but I do not.
no, you said that day that you had a financial interest.
I do not have a financial stake in any
You said that at the MAPC.
I guess there's no decorum.
That does not conclude our business for the evening, board. I'm sorry. We do have an item number 10 to get to. Proposed city ordinance designating the city website as the official newspaper. Do we have the deputy city attorney with us?
Yep. In the back.
Join the
Take
wall,
my
guys.
3 minutes.
Join the wall.
Do you have any comment on this issue?
Do you have to comment on this?
Comment.
Oh, I had some thoughts on enforcement, but I wasn't asked, so. Let it go. PowerPoint would be great. I'm Sharon DeGraff. I am Chief Deputy City Attorney, and I'm here today to present very briefly a potential charter ordinance that would change the official city newspaper to the website. I know there's been at least one presentation that touched on this. This is going to go in a little bit more detail, and it's been a long day. I understand. So this is going to be pretty quick. All right, next slide. If you're clicking. Oh, all right. Great. State statute requires that a city distinguish or designate an official city newspaper. The state statutes require that certain legal publications be published in the newspaper. Those are zoning notifications, those are changing in zoning. There are copies of the city ordinances, zoning regulations, and other resolutions. Currently, the Wichita Eagle is the city's official newspaper. It has been the official newspaper since 2019. Currently, we spend about $150,000 with the Wichita Eagle. That contract is set to expire in August of this year. It would be out for bid at the end of the contract. The proposed charter ordinance would charter out from the state statute and allow the city's website to be the official city publication. What that would mean that these legal notices and ordinances and resolutions would be published on the website. Since this is a charter ordinance, it requires a vote of 5 people. There is a protest period, so it would not take effect until 61 days following its passage. Several requirements are set forth in the resolution. Requires a website to be available free of charge, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The city clerk must execute an affidavit to make clear that the requirements were met and that items were published on the website. Paper copies will be provided to individuals up to 20 pages free of charge of these notices if they are requested. And the notices must maintain on the city website for 5 years. I'll stand for questions on the legal part. Tyler is here from the communications team that can answer or give a quick presentation on the actual nuts and bolts of the website.
So we're spending $150,000 to publish in the Wichita Eagle.
Yes. And that's a yearly.
Okay, and so now what you're saying is we can post everything that we usually post or give to the Wichita Eagle on the city's website, and the citizens can access it for free.
There are a couple distinctions or a couple exceptions that have to be published in a newspaper, in a print type paper. But I would say probably 80% of what we are currently sending to the Wichita Eagle would be posted on our website. Currently, items are already posted on the website. We've been practicing this, for lack of a better term, for 18 months.
Probably.
Yeah, longer than that. So there is a duplication at this point. I think the thought is it's a money saving option. How many people currently subscribe to the newspaper? Are the legal notifications available if you don't have the paid subscription? And I think there's some question that the last version that they rolled out, whether they are or aren't. So there are a number of different factors. What's the best way to contact and communicate with the community? And Tyler has a whole series of how we plan to do that.
Any more questions for legal before I?
Before till 2019, it was published where?
Prior to 2019, it was in the Derby Informer. So it's either been the city for 33 years. It's either been the Derby Informer or the Wichita. And again, if you live in West Wichita, you're probably not gonna read the Derby Informer. And Sedgwick County currently uses the Derby Informer for their notifications.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. When you post these, when you post on the website, is there a dedicated section to what would have been in the news?
I'll cover that.
Okay, I'm
We
sorry.
have links, we have pages, we have landing pages.
Okay.
The lawyer doesn't do computer keys, so we'll let Tyler take over.
She'll stick around if there's any more questions for legal. Okay, you have one for her?
Well, I don't want to shortchange your presentation.
Yep.
But we discussed this at length in a previous meeting.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna go ahead and offer that we, as a DAB, approve this proposed city ordinance designating the city website as the official.
One thing I would say is we got direction from the city council that we show the whole presentation in a uniform manner to all of that. I understand that and I can buzz through this pretty quick. But that was part of the direction why I'm back here and talking again. is So it's a uniform presentation, everybody, just for legal notices, even though it was covered in our marketing communications plan. So I'll buzz through it fairly quickly. It's pretty short. So we go here. I will say there was some misinformation out there. Our website never went down with the cyber incident. We had pieces of our website that went down as far as like applications, but the website itself was never down. So I just wanted to clear that up. If it did go down, is the requirement we have to have the information up 24/7. With our third party, they have guaranteed us it will be back up in 2 hours. If for some worst case scenario were to happen, then the information, we could put it on our old system and bring that back up. Current website, question came up about that. We have it under the little button at the very front of the page. It's under government tab, how do I tab, footer, clerk page, search, archive center as well. Who has access to the files, security, and people worried about changing information after it's uploaded? I'm one of the system admins that we have access to everything on the website. We have to do that to be able to help people with what their content is. Ordinances, resolution, city clerk, deputy city clerk are the only two outside of the admins that have access to upload those. Some of the departments have information such as planning in all those cases. They have just access to whatever they upload and nothing else. They can't make edits to those. Print copies are available through the library and the neighborhood resource centers. Target audience, you can see here who we're going after, everybody within Wichita. Engagement, we're looking at updates on wichita.gov, all the newsletters, social media. We're going to continue pushing that out and using community partnerships and looking out different things. But we've been pushing this out through social media for over a year now. So, and we're looking at a broader marketing campaign. We didn't think it's a good idea to spend money just on legal notices. That's not a real good use of money. But what we're going to do is have like an email newsletter or something like that for notices. Every time we add notices, you can sign up to receive, hey, alert, more notices have been added. But that marketing campaign would promote all of our other newsletters, calendar, subscriptions, that sort of thing. So with this, we'll be able to track analytics on the website, social media, feedback, that sort of thing. And find out how many people are using that sort of thing. So with that.
In reference to your question, they'll be searchable, there'll be an index. So there's a number of ways that folks should be able to find that legal notification online.
Yep, and with that, in our archive center, you can search the resolutions folder and each one of them is tagged with a date. So if you're looking for a specific date, or you can type in the name of it, you can search for all of them.
There is no formal action required on this item other than just providing feedback to the city. When does this ordinance come before?
It goes again August the 18th. It was supposed to be on tomorrow, but we deferred it. It was first on in April.
Next week, is it coming back next week? Or-
No,
No,
come back on the 18th.
okay.
Okay, did you say August?
It was on the April agenda, and then it got deferred until June 4th, and then it got deferred again until June 18th, so that we can make sure that we gave all those presentations. Yeah, June.
Well, thank you both. Any further feedback for city staff?
I think it's great.
Yeah, concur. Thank you both. Okay, that does bring us to the conclusion of our items of business for the evening. So with that, we will adjourn until next month. Thank you, everybody.
Wonderful job.
Thank you, nice job.
I love that.
I love that. That was.